That's okay. Take your time. We'll start in a moment. Just say when.
Take my time? All right, I'll be about like 20 minutes.
Cool.
While Cleo
That
figures out
tracks.
stuff.
Make sure... Blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Recording is a beautiful thing in this neighborhood.
You
In
run a
this
far away.
neighborhood.
You run a far away.
Is it a new song or is it an old song?
It gives me an old song vibe, but it might not
What
be.
year did it come out?
Oh, is
Yeah,
it
what year?
is it Roxanne? Like,
Roxanne.
Turn on the
Rox.
red light.
Let me see.
You don't
I gotta-
have to
I gotta
put
play
on
it.
the red lights.
Rocks.
Roxanne.
It's a lot of syllables in the repeating part.
Rocks.
Put on your red lights. Put on your red lights.
Maybe?
Can you think
Oh,
of the
I'm
instruments that
so
go along
bummed
with
I
it?
got it.
Like, is it a
I
rock song?
want it.
Is it a jazz song? Is it a pop song?
Is
Here,
it
wait, I'm playing
classical?
Roxanne.
No, you're playing whatever your
Is the main-
character's name is.
Is the main
Boxing.
instrument a honky tonk piano?
Yeah, it's Roxanne.
Nicely done.
Put on the red light.
Good job, Julia.
We are 1 for 1.
That was pretty impressive. Wow.
1 versus 1, I guess is what I should say. So the next time one of
One
us
for
has a
one and
song
one
stuck
for
in their
all.
head,
I don't know
unidentified, we need to call
Where
each other.
this song
Yeah.
came from.
All for one,
Like,
one for all.
I just woke up and it was in my head. I don't remember watching anything. I don't think it came up at all during my drive.
Cleo checks her paperwork and realizes that she's changed her name to Roxanne. It was just in my head, you know?
I did buy 4 certified copies because they only accept exact change, and of course the only ATM nearby is like dispenses in 20s.
It took me a second
They're
to put
$5
together
each.
that you're talking about copies of like whatever
You
you're
only
getting at
bought-
the courthouse and not copies of
Yeah.
the vinyl album of Roxanne.
Yeah, you only
is what
bought
I
4
thought you were
certified copies.
Sorry, well, Julia
Certified copies.
talked about
That's it.
looking down at the paperwork and realizing I changed my name to Roxanne. So that's where I made the leap of logic. I
You
didn't think that was too far. But my brain just shut down.
I heard it.
That was pretty wild.
Also, my lips are so red from the pasta. Damn, Daniel.
That's a little teaser for the Patreon content.
My lips are red from the pasta.
Cleo's red lips, only available on the
pasta.
on the on
What kind of a
the
Patreon are you
pasta.
trying to run over here?
Roxanne.
Put on the red light. Yeah, that's what was stuck in my head was specifically that part of Roxanne.
Yeah.
Put on the red
You must
pasta.
have sung it sung it well enough because we got it.
We got there.
I'm surprised you pulled any information out of what I said. I'm used to like just making up nonsense. Like the other day, I was trying to ask somebody I can't say it right now. I was trying to remember the name
Tease.
of like pre-Homo sapien species of like humanoids, and I was like Neanderthals is what I was trying to say, but I couldn't say it. And it was literally 5 minutes of me trying to say
Yeah.
Okay.
Nyan cat.
I live for those moments. Like
It was a great moment all around.
listening to Cleo trying to get words out is some of my favorite content. I'm a big fan.
This is the content that people come to see.
When my brain just doesn't work.
Rip to Cleo's brain.
And I am not mentally prepared for this, but I am mentally prepared to try.
You know, it's the same thing with like going back to work last week. It's like you just got to jump in and do it.
Oh, that was
And
today for me.
Oh well, today coming back to work today. You got two
Yeah.
back to back.
Yep.
Don't worry, I double caffeinated for tonight's stream. So, prepared. And I haven't really had any
just a little bit
caffeine.
for me, right?
I haven't had very much caffeine since I got back from Ethiopia.
I said,
so
yeah,
I'm
that's-
like floating right now.
Enough for the both of us.
Nice.
Josh Super Turbo Edition tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole session is over in like a minute and a half. Like, so how was that for you guys? You have fun? Was that good? It's just-
I like to think
just
remember
go
how
back
the
to
mechanics
bed.
worked? Everybody roll for their characters and do all the stuff. You remember the D20 checks that we did? That was pretty great, right? That part where the thing was happening and then there was the exposition in between and then you got the clues and you put it all
He's
together. and then
joking,
after
but
you got
he's
all the pieces
doing it.
together, You put it all together.
Exactly.
And then it was like, whoa, oh my gosh. And there was that big twist reveal at the end and then I
Josh
hit you with
used
a
to
cliffhanger.
rap.
Do you remember that? That
That's
was
where this
pretty-
is coming from.
He gets to the end of his content and then like plays the intro.
He has called me
Roxanne just
before, right after having a Coke Zero, and it's like I can understand everything he's saying, but it's like listening to a video on like ×2 speed. I'm just like, are you okay? I'm good. What are you talking about? I'm good.
My body's keeping up with my brain. I don't know what to do with this.
I've never experienced this.
Yep. I like to think of Josh as though, like, sort of like Street Fighter 2. There's many different versions of Street Fighter 2. Wash accurately described that one as Super Josh Turbo, akin to Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
That's right. That's right. I'm looking forward tonight when he kicks off Champion Edition.
Yes,
right.
Champion Edition, Tournament Edition is another one.
Yeah.
Josh Tournament Edition.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then at the season finale, we'll have Josh Alpha 3.
Yes, and
yeah.
the thing that's interesting about Josh Alpha 3 is that it's actually the same as Josh 03, but 03 is Japanese Josh.
Right.
They just
right.
called it different things.
Do I get
even though
dubbed
it's
or
the same
subbed
thing.
in that version?
Only
it's
subbed,
if you
not even
wanna,
subbed. It's just all in Japanese.
Oh, okay.
if you want to see the finale before it airs here in the U.S., then you can see Josh 03 in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then later it'll be released here
Yeah,
in the
but like
U.S.
at the con, it'll always be Alpha 3. Like, you know, if you're going to go in cosplay or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the meta is.
Yeah.
And that's not even thinking about like vanilla Josh 3, because even vanilla Josh 3 just already has 3 different versions that released simultaneously, and there were Josh imagine Josh in 3 different cabinets with different characters but the same mechanics.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Guys, I really want to join in on this bit, but I can't keep up. My brain.
I just turned on our cameras for this stream and I turned them on at exactly the perfect moment. I have to go back and clip it because Jake, like everyone is doing the bit and smiling and whatever, and Julia is just finishing a yawn, and as soon as she finishes, Lupin starts and he yawns the whole time Jake is talking. So Jake does like a whole sentence that is the bit and everyone is smiling and Lupin could not care less about it.
Lupin and I
You know,
don't know Street
Lupin.
Fighter.
Yeah, that's all right.
Lupin's
Sorry.
like, I am the Street Fighter. I don't know what you're talking about. I run this.
He's my
just
brain
gonna
cell
be
right
really
now.
clingy because I've been away for a couple days, so he's just
Aw.
staring at me like, and I've been dog sitting, so he's like, "You've been cheating on me for days, you horrid woman.
Man,
You smell like
Is
other
it a dog
dogs."
you've sat for before?
It's
I say, and you can't hide it from Lupin. Lupin can smell it.
Yeah, Lupin knows. The nose knows.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Listen here, bub.
really synchronized.
Is it a dog you've sat for before, Julia?
Yes, it's one of my favorites. His name is Jack.
No.
The dog's supposed to sit for you. You're not supposed to sit for the dog.
I got him.
So, oh, go ahead.
It's just silence after
I'm
that.
sorry. I was trying to think like
It's weird because
What
I
was
don't
said
have,
exactly?
I don't have I don't have a screen to watch you guys on, so I was like trying to find Jake on the screen and see his face, and then it was too late to reply.
So when we stream, I'm just a disembodied voice. You don't even
Yes.
see my
Nor-
face.
Yeah, so I rearranged all the furniture in
Oh.
my office. So before that, she could see all of your faces, but in the new arrangement of furniture, she cannot see your faces.
Oh, I thought you
So-
just hid my face specifically.
Yeah, well, it's because you repulse us, so it actually our role playing
okay.
improves when we hide your face from.
Well,
from
you
our
know
point
what?
of view.
What I said earlier. Anything to improve the role playing. So I'm here
Yeah,
for that.
that's great.
It's
Yeah, 'cause
weird, but I
Market
support
your
it.
voice acting is pretty strong. It's just your face.
Thank you.
So
you know,
Yeah, they say I have a face for radio. So
Speaking of, oh wow, that's.
I would
sorry.
never say that about Jake, for the record.
Jake,
I was
you
gonna
just got
say,
yourself.
Speaking of role playing, do you mind if I go grab a drink?
oh,
right now.
Is that you role playing as
that's
a
actually
thirsty person?
perfect, Cleo. I'm gonna start the session, but part of my opening bit is that Fox stumbles in late, so it's okay.
Okay.
Go and get your
Okay.
drink. I'm just gonna start, and then
Please,
we're gonna roll from that.
Should I? How much time should I give you to give optimal timing?
Just like a minute or two.
Minute.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's just a VO, and then Fox stumbles in at the end.
All right.
Okay. So for the rest of you, it has been 62 long days since your frightful flight from the besieged city-state and queendom of Gaim. 62 days since Jeb pushed himself to his absolute limits and successfully counterspelled not once but twice in the face of a veritable 4-deck airship of the line returning arcane fire. In those 62 days, the company of Four Guys Adventures and Vibes has turned the Cugboat into a bit more of a home away from home. As Bruiser's trainees have become more able, he's spent his time making strong connections with the rest of the company, within which he's thrown his lot. As a result of this, he's been gifted with a prototype device from Laredith, a magical earring that, by means of compressing the weave from Bruiser's rod of dexterity and forming it into a tight beam, allows him to communicate thrice per long rest with the airship's central communication system in the same way the spell message would allow. The other prototype is with Clara. In addition, he's developed some misgivings about Joffrey during his interactions, which he's taken some secret steps to address. He sits now in the old spa, the war room at the aft end of the main deck of the Cugboat. Bruiser's black leather jacket has been replaced with a brown one, his aviators replaced with a slimmer, sportier pair, and his feet are kicked up upon the table in front of him, resting atop a stack of reports he's brought to this meeting. In one badger paw, he holds a snack he got from Clara Albuquerque on the way here. Trevor, what's Bruiser snacking on?
Bruiser is snacking on some beef jerky.
That definitely, yeah, that makes sense. So Bruiser's got like the beef jerky stick sitting there. Meanwhile, Jeb has used his time productively also. Cloistered away with Randy Mig McHale, head of the Four Guys Department of Cool Stuff, the televibe machine Clara brought from Gaim has been disassembled, reassembled, modified, and generally tinkered with in dozens of ways. With the knowledge they've gained, Randy believes that he can build, and he's begun construction on, a device that can either black out a radius of televibes or intrude upon their communications to replace the message. They hypothesize that in order to deliver the messaging at scale, there must be some kind of Winglewire transmitters that are relaying the messages to individual televibes, but without finding such a tower to examine, they will be unable to know for certain if they're correct. Perhaps as a result of being in such an alien terrain for a dirtfolk, Jeb's attire has been reverted to his comfier, homier, oversized leather duster jacket. In addition, he's patched the bullet hole in his pointy wizard's hat. Seated opposite Bruiser, Jeb has his own set of reports stacked neatly in front of him, resting underneath his small spiral-bound spellbook. Seated on the type of stool all artificers are most accustomed to using at their workbench, with his back leaned against the wall of the old spa, is Alan Woodrear. Alan has spent most of the past 2 months assisting Laredith as she works to miniaturize the machine that will stabilize the Rod of Seven Parts when the time arrives to cast the Cataclysmic Ritual. However, he's not been idle with his downtime either. Owlin used his little off time to pursue his plan for a Winglewire toothbrush, got sidetracked following the dopamine, and somehow invented briefs. Because his previous attire of just boxers was covered in fur, and his new attire of just briefs is covered in fur, he looks exactly the same as he did before. But Owlin can feel the difference. Owlin knows. Currently, Owlin and Jeb are engaged in a largely irrelevant and tangential debate about something, a bit of a friendly argument, if you will. What have they been debating for 62 days, Wash and Jake?
Oh, geez, 62 days.
I don't even know what boxers are.
Well, you see, as I was explaining before, the difference is in the feeling. And if you would only give them a chance, these briefs, then you would feel the difference. You need to try both, of course. I can fix you a pair of both.
But see, that's the thing. Like, I've got like fur everywhere. Like I don't think like is
the
that
door
something
to the
that
war room bursts open as a breathless Fox enters the room, hands clumsily holding a somewhat crumpled, messy stack of papers, and his tutu brushing everyone and everything as he navigates the whole way around the table to the seat furthest from the door. In particular, Jeb and Bruiser find themselves with faces full of frilly fabric. Fox has spent the downtime trying hard to win a bet with Clara Albuquerque and failing. The bet? Fox could disguise himself in such a way that Clara would never realize it was him. The reason he failed, he forgot to disguise his mechanical leg. His lost wager states that he must now use his enchanted glamour robes, which he can disguise as anything he wants, as a tutu. And so for the first time in a long time, we see Fox's faded red tunic. Underneath a vibrant sort of shimmery pink and light blue tutu that Fox is now wearing at all times. Cleo, what random thing got Fox sidetracked or distracted that caused him to be late to this meeting?
I'm so sorry, guys. One of the scouts was talking to me and had a really interesting theory. And then I realized it was about the story he was writing and not about the current situation. I'm so sorry.
If it was interesting enough, I understand the sidetrack. Now, I do have an important question for you before we start the meeting. Do you prefer boxers or briefs?
Oh, don't drag me into the middle of this. You've already tried multiple times. Listen, I wear what I wear. I don't know if they're boxers or briefs, and I don't want to know, as I've said multiple times.
As Fox takes his seat, affirmative, the Myconid sovereign, with his shrubby afro pulled into neat vertical braids that stick up from his head like hedgehog quills, and his necktie hanging from around his coarse bark-skinned neck, raises his arms. Two small silver clip-on cufflinks, fashioned from the bolt that he used to chew in his days as a mafioso, glitter faintly as he throws a few blue spores into the air, which connect telepathically with all of you. It has been a long time with no result to our search. I have asked you here to join me with reports from the various crew members of our airship generated over the past 62 sun cycles. It is my belief that you may be able to find more in the data provided than others. After all, while our crew may function as eyes, ears, hands, and feet of this organization, if I am at the heart of the staff, then you are the head. It is my wish that we review the information that has been gathered together to determine our next steps. I have also asked that Clara join us, as her time spent among the diverse refugees in Gaim as part of the Rationeers may give her some additional insight into what we have learned. And just as he finishes that statement, in comes Clara Albuquerque with a plate of snacks for everybody. Clara, what are you providing as the delicacies of choice for this conversation?
Burritos, of course.
Naturally. And so the meeting begins.
I'm sorry, DM. I'm just imagining it's a bunch of mini burritos with like the little sticks through them. Like they're just little bite-sized burritos.
Little toothpicks.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Ooh, wonderful.
These are really
Of
good.
course.
my mouth is full of tutu. Fox, could you like move to the
I'm
side?
so sorry.
It goes up when you sit down.
Yeah, no, I'm not used to it. Okay, what can I say?
It looks so good on you, honey. It shows off your legs.
That is technically correct. Yes, I appreciate what affirmative is. Yes, that makes sense. I guess I can start if that is helpful. I'll start with maybe some things that matter a little bit less, and then move to things that maybe are more pertinent. First, as we've searched through the ship's inventory during these last couple months, we have found a lot of things, a lot of potions, a lot of spell scrolls, a spell book, lots of things like that, a disguise kit. It's just some different things that I think will need to be distributed among people who will have quick ease of access to the weave, as there are scrolls, not ciphers, so they will need to be used within our pieces of the weave. They can't be used really outside of that. Right, really is the wrong word. They can't be used outside of that. So the other things are that Laredith has. We found a lightning cannon that was actually designed by Laredith.
Whoa.
That's cool.
About years ago. Yes, it's very cool.
We have it installed already.
Gonna make
right?
me obsolete.
We have it installed and it has been cleaned, but it needs a few more repairs before it's necessarily accurate. It can function. Aiming it and making sure that the lightning bolt goes where it's aimed will take some work.
Well, I mean, worst case scenario, it could be used as a warning shot or like a display of force.
Hey, I'm with Jeb on this, but you fire that puppy, and I don't think many people are going to mess with us.
That is fair. We've also been able to install some sensor instruments into the ship. I'm sure that obviously, Bruiser knows a lot about that as well. But the sensors have picked up some interesting things. The things that will be helpful to us are that there are 3 predominant air currents that swirl around essentially points of interest above the continent. And each of these points of interest could be where we find K, or I'm sorry.
Oh, like if K was caught in the current,
yes.
then he would okay.
Yes, each of these points of interest is kind of where the current kind of slows down and stops, and where K could be kind of adrift. So one of those is the northern end of the Cavorite Mountains. One is the southeastern edge of Uruda, basically around Ambercliff. And the other one, which we've passed previously, the Pillars of Eternal Vigil. So the other interesting thing about these currents, which is why they are worth investigating likely, is that they're not really typical air currents, like based on temperature. They seem to possibly be magical in nature. We don't know. We don't really have a good reason for them to exist. So they're interesting in that way. Also, some of our other instruments seem to be telling us that the quality of the air around us, like while we've been flying, has been slowly worsening. I don't know if you've noticed that when we look off into the distance, there's a bit of a haziness.
Our scouts noticed that as well. Sadly, I think I know the cause of it.
And that would be, I think, a great place to pick up after my last thing that the instruments have noticed, which is that there's like an unusual amount of arcane energy coming from Stainless. Like, it's not unusual that arcane energy would be coming from Stainless, but this is like a lot.
So that makes sense with what I've in my scouts have noticed.
Perfect. That's go for it.
So to mention the more relevant information first that pertains to what you've brought up to us. First of all, the Jungle of Songs it's on fire. I'm pretty sure that's probably the cause of the air quality. And not the whole thing, but pockets of it here and there, and that's definitely causing issues, especially when we dip low in altitude. So we probably want to stick a little higher, even if it does mean that we're kind of short on breath. At least it's good air still. In terms of Stainless, our scouts are getting a lot of strange reports about it. Obviously, it's held by the enemy. There have been, I believe, earthquakes going on. If I'm believing this report right, let me go back over this. Yes. Right. Okay. Yep. It seems definitely some weird shenanigans is going on around Stainless. So I definitely think they're up to something. I don't know if that's related at all to the time when a cult came out of the city sewers after we destroyed a tower and then just left. Could be related, could be unrelated, who knows. Another thing, speaking of looking for K, you mentioned some mist or air currents, and I've noticed some mists in certain areas that make it hard to see, even from high altitude. And the southeast towards Amber, where you mentioned there's an air current, right? Circular air current. Shrouded in mist constantly. So if there's a place to hide, that could be it.
That could be, yes.
So if it's mist, I don't know if that maybe has something to do with the aboleths. I don't know why, but it's ringing alarm bells in my head.
So the nav team disagrees on it being mist to begin with.
Oh.
Yes. So obviously we all saw it, and from a distance it looked like mist. But we're getting closer to it, and as we get closer, it doesn't seem like mist. We can't place what it is.
But it's not like smoke. I mean, what else could it?
Yeah, what other
be?
behaviors
What's
do you think
misty
it's
but doesn't look like
displaying?
mist? I don't understand.
Yeah, you kind of lost me there.
But what you're
we're-
saying is you can confirm that it's not mist, though. It's something different.
The nav team suspects something different.
Ash?
Gosh, could I roll to see if there's any more information on that?
I'm about to highlight a section of the sentence that you should reread again to get a lot of clarity on this. I just highlighted it in yellow for you. So it.
While he's rereading,
Yeah.
I also still want to
okay.
bring up
Sorry.
that I know we've had a few close calls recently. Every time we've gone low, we've been noticed. Though it seems we're functioning okay, but I do worry that if we keep that up, eventually they're going to set something up to take us down. So far, we've been able to outmaneuver anybody who comes after us, but I fear that they're going to start expecting to see us, and they're start going to narrowing down our patterns.
And I should
also-
clarify that currently the airship is at like a very high altitude where, cloud cover prevents you from being visible from the ground.
Yeah.
I also want to point out why we've been at high altitude. We've noticed we've been alone, which I guess would make sense, right? But keep that in mind. There used to be airships before the darkening, and we're not seeing any kind of anything up here. My scouts haven't noticed a single ship, and that includes the new ones that they might have been building. Though, to be fair, we don't really know how many there are. I tried asking Garlisle, but he rolled a die and told me a number. So I don't know if that's really reliable information.
That sounds like him.
The nav team has spotted some things in our journey these past few months. And I just got just reading through again that we believe the mist is actually a turbulent weather pattern.
So
A hubulent?
more
What?
storm clouds, essentially.
Sorry,
Like a tempest?
I'm going to clarify a second time here. The scouts or the lookouts at first believed it to be a turbulent weather pattern, and the nav team disagree. They believe that it is mist. They are up in the air on what the cause of the mist
Oh,
is.
the scouts at first. Sorry. I
It's okay.
misread that whole sentence.
I got you.
We believe it was mist. They believe it was a turbulent weather pattern.
But we still don't know the cause, is the. Yeah.
So the gist of it being we should hesitate before just flying directly in such a
Okay.
The gist of
weather
the
pattern.
mist.
So I do
Hey,
want to bring up.
hey. Mist. Do things cause it? Condensation before a storm, or very cold temperatures in a very warm climate.
I
Potentially
do want to bring
Thrax and
something up.
Howe.
I do want to bring something up. That isn't the only place we've spotted mist. All right. Like I said, as Nav has said, my scouts assure me that it's very potential for that to be a naturally occurring weather pattern, considering there's mountains right there. You have warm weather coming in from the ocean, hitting the mountains and condensing. That's normal. I mean, mind you, it's a little abnormal that it hasn't gone away, but that's not unnatural. While as over by the pillars, we have noticed some mist weaving in between occasionally. And that has me more interested, to be fair.
Could Alan roll like history or something to see if he can remember whether like mist or some sort of unusual weather pattern like that has been associated with like the traveling of aboliths in the past in their experience?
Roll it with advantage because of your time studying in the Aoslar Foundation Tower.
Cool. Ooh. That's a 22.
A 22. Alan, you would know that the Pillars of Eternal Vigil are surrounded by a constant mist thought to be a creation of Gomteus, the god of chaos, that defeats attempts to navigate it. So it leaves people very confused as they try to enter those waters or whatever. Typically not necessarily specified to climb the whole way to the top of them. Usually this is something that's expected to be seen over the sea. But I mean, a natural temperature variation could certainly raise or lower a cloud. You know what I mean? Like it's not unheard of, especially if it's just infrequently from time to time, like what Fox's team is reporting. That could be naturally occurring, or it could be something. You're not sure whether that's normal or not.
Okay. Well, with the pillars specifically, we do know, or at least according to legend, we know that is magically occurring mist set upon the tower or the pillars by Gomteus himself. Designed to intentionally make traversing that area mostly by sea, like make it unnavigable.
Wait. Wouldn't that has to be where K is? Think about it. All right, no, just hear me out. If you think about it, I mean, the darkening, right? Magic like that should have been dispelled. If there's some magic thing happening, that means there's a source of weave letting that happen. If there's a source of weave, that could be K.
I bet. Well, it would explain a lot. If K has simply been lost in the unnavigatable magical mist.
Now, I still want to bring up, I kind of brushed over it, but like, I don't think you guys realize how significant it is we haven't seen another ship at all.
No,
in the air.
I understand.
We actually have. The nav team has spotted a small scout class airship above the Northern Wilds when we were back there, but we climbed high enough to avoid them. And it was flying in a like crisscross pattern, like it was searching for something, or it could be us. Like we have been pursued by a lot of things. There have been shadow dragons sent by us, but we outran them. We found a rock, which is very unusual according to Satonia, like way outside of its habitat.
Where our scouts collaborate the rock sightings.
And then we were detected flying above the Jungle of Songs by ground forces, and Jeb had to counterspell the magic missiles they sent at us.
Nice work, by the way, Jeb.
Yes.
I'm a professional.
And then when we got to the Cavorite Mountains, we stumbled on a large structure, and so we had to fly high above that to avoid it. But it looked like it might be some sort of assault structure that they're building. Like even worse.
Yeah.
Where's that at? You said that was the Cavorite.
Is that near Stainless?
Stainless is the
not
southern
sure.
Cavorite Mountains. Trevor's report says this was in the central Cavorite Mountains.
You know, Cavorite Mountains, that rings some bells. Now, who was it that was talking to me? Somebody was talking to me about the Cavorite Mountains. Yeah, so there was like some construction workers. You know, we were giving them swill and gime. They said they was from Stainless, but that they needed to go to the Cavorite Mountains because they was hired for that, and they had to bring a bunch of like building materials with them, and it was very heavy and took a long time. And they were kind of complaining about it, but they nobody told them to build anything. They just was supposed to leave them there, you know, which they thought was strange, and I thought was strange because that's like leaving your hoard out for the neighbors. You know, I don't like the sound of that. But by the time they got, you know, like you was saying earlier, they by the time they got back to Stainless, it was occupied. So that was when they kind of came out to Gaim, as you know, many of us did.
So let me just try to condense everything we've gathered so far then. I believe strongly that. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I have some report stuff too. Before, if you want that before.
Oh,
we,
of course, Chad.
Overall condense stuff.
Sorry, I the tutu kind of hid you there.
That's going to be a theme. I might have to like burn a corner of this thing off if I'm going to be standing next to you.
This is art.
And it will be a glorious display of art when it is on fire.
Claire, can I just shrink it a little bit? So,
that's what the fire is for.
Tasteful, baby.
Okay.
So, lots of stuff, it sounds like, has been happening around the planet. A lot of activity and it looks like we potentially have some leads with finding K, but there's been some movement in the hearts of the people, and there's been some movement in the machinations of the aboleths. So when Randy and I were working on this televibe thing, trying to reverse engineer it, we've picked up some news broadcasts. They're using it to spread information. A lot of it is propaganda, trying to defame us for things that we didn't do and things that we totally did, but for good reasons. But also just like other like updates of things, like just it sounds like they're trying to gather the hearts and minds of the people and get them to do stuff. For example, there is this secret pilgrimage going on to a for those who are intelligent and inclined to go to some sort of cipher center. They're being called there privately to kind of be a part of some entirely new kind of Arcane's experience is what they're...
That's not shady.
No, it's not.
Can't be good.
There's a lot of double speak in all of this. Also, in Stainless, the tower that we destroyed and collapsed and killed an aboleth, in its place, they've chosen not to rebuild it. They have chosen to, what is it? They created a memorial lake in its place with walking paths and parks. And we all know what likes to live in large bodies of water.
Yep.
So there's that. There's also they're really seeding the thoughts of a new deity. They're putting out like memorial type messages, kind of commemorating people who have passed since the darkening, but they're kind of using it to slander the gods and like erode trust and support in them. There's been a peppering of language in there of maybe one day we'll find a new deity deserving of our worship. No,
That's my good one.
And the responses have seemed relatively positive. The Summit Banking Guild has been bought. Is acquiring and has bought the Bright World company.
Oh dear.
So they have merged, and they're integrating their Wingle Digit resources and tech.
Only there was.
But yeah, this.
I don't know. Sorry,
What?
go on.
I was going to move on to my next paper here.
No, I'm thinking you said, sorry, a lot of people talk to me, so it's hard to filter out all the different. All gossip is juicy gossip to Clara. That's all I'm saying. But you said that they that company bought the other company, and it rang some bells that I was talking to this guy who had a casino in Aspesh,
I'm familiar.
I thought you might be. That's kind of where I was going. But he said his contacts in Stainless had their casinos sort of like acquired by somebody shady. It was some shady dealings. They didn't even get to see his face or anything, but it seemed like it was the same guy every time because they kept hearing the same sound when he was walking. It was like there was a clacking sound, it made me think of Fox here because he's got the different leg. So I thought maybe he's got like a cane, or maybe he's walking with a peg leg, or what's going on. But those casinos, they just closed up those doors. They thought, oh, it's just going to be under new management, but no, they just closed them up completely, and there was like bounces at the door, and they just told everybody to go away and just said it was being renovated. But I don't know what's going on.
I'd imagine that's probably the work of Sir Topham.
Well, he's a busy man. It would not surprise me.
It is interesting to me that like the Brightworld Company and the Summit Banking Guild are undergoing a public merger. To me, that's something that at least I felt as though we all knew that they were like in cahoots at least, or at the most just run by the same people.
No, this makes sense. Maybe in a normal circumstance, it would be hard to justify to the people. That's just a huge power play, right? They wouldn't be able to do that without pushback, especially because they're so wide-reaching. The international community, I'm sure, would push back on that. But when there's war going on, nations are in crisis.
No one can worry about it.
It's probably just another footnote in the news for them. And this is the perfect time to publicly show that they're working together, so that way they can cover their tracks about any collaboration before it's just pretext to the merger.
Perhaps
there's also the possibility.
Nope. Yep. Go ahead, Jeb. Sorry, you're probably going to say what I was about to say.
Well, there's also the possibility that they weren't 100% in collaboration, and when we dropped the Summit Banking Guild's tower, it created a vacuum, like a need for resources and whatnot. And maybe they are now taking the opportunity to join forces, which means we might be up against some more difficult opposition if they're, pooling their resources together.
I'm not sure. I believe that they were already pooling their resources, at least in private. I just think it's interesting that they thought that they must, not just they thought, they must have some sort of reason for making that connection public, that merger public, and it just kind of scares me that at this moment I can't think of why. It just is another thing that they have over us information-wise.
It allows them to work together and without having to worry about being so secretive.
Well,
possibly.
Does one of them have, like a better reputation? Like, oh, if we work together, then I look better because he already looks good. Is there something like that going on?
Perhaps. I believe, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Summit Banking Guild has had a more consistent public presence than the Brightworld Company, which the Brightworld Company being a relatively new newcomer onto the kind of public affairs.
Hey, Josh.
So, yeah.
Could I make a roll to see, like, since I knew a lot of people, at least back in Gaim and stuff, what people's perception of both companies were at before the war?
Sure. Go ahead and roll with advantage, and let's do an insight check into public opinion.
Okay. 28.
The Summit Banking Guild was not completely unknown before the Darkening or before this war or anything like that, but they were one of a number of large banking guilds because the floating A2 city that was on that giant sila, I think it was called, that huge peak that had been thrust into the air, there was a whole bunch of stuff like that. So there were multiple, financial guilds, and there was a sort of stock market where you could invest in different. It was more like what we would call Patreon, because you would invest in like mines, like an inventor or whatever would be seeking an investment for what they wanted to create. But there were a number of financial type companies and large banking systems there. However, post the Darkening, the Summit Banking Guild seems to be the only one that recovered. The Bright World company was completely unknown before the Darkening. There was nothing known about them publicly. They had no like public holdings. There's no real knowledge of whether they were formed after the Darkening or whether they were formed before. Like they were so not a talking point that despite Bruiser's vast network, nobody had any idea. So you're not really sure as far as their time in the limelight. The first time they were heard of is when Dabbledob Bafflestone, the CEO, announced the Wingle Digit, which happened very shortly after the Darkening, as a sort of like ray of light in a dark time kind of speech where, he kind of rallied people around it. We've been through much. Our engineers are working to try and help bring you a better world. The Summit Banking Guild has very generously invested sort of advance of money into us. And with it, we've developed the Wingle Digit. And that was kind of the beginning of when people heard of them and what thrust them into the spotlight.
Okay. So yeah, they both haven't had like terrible perceptions. In fact, both of them thrived as soon as the Darkening happened. They started thriving. Like the Summit Baking Guild was the only big financial institution that recovered in the Darkening. Bright World Company, not even sure if it existed before the Darkening, and then they announced the Wingle Digit, and obviously that was sort of like a ray of light to the people.
Well, something that the Summit Banking Guild has also done is they purchased those warehouses that we apparently bombed. They also rebuilt the clock tower and have created like this engineering finance fund for students and stuff like that surrounding all of that. So they're still securing those locations and hanging on to them. And then outside
is back to just screams as Gunner's various Gnomon Guard grenades went off.
Gunner turns over in his sleep, but in a good way, nestling comfortably in his pillow.
It was a good day. So outside of that, and them emphasizing our escapades, aka Owlin's public drunkenness, reckless cipher truck driving, Fox, apparently your rampage / escape through City Hall that one day in Tumbleweb.
Oh,
got a lot of attention.
Nobody got hurt.
I'm on your side. I'm just saying.
And we're prepared to tell the real stories.
Yeah.
All right. I will say. Go on. Sorry.
Last but not least, have been reports and news broadcasts on the mines. There's been increased seismic activity is what they're calling it. Now, Randy and I looked through the dates that they're reporting on these, and some of these line up with us messing with their mines. Some of them are more recent, which means either they're doing something that requires big booms, or we have an ally who's causing some havoc. I'm not sure which.
Could be both.
Can't forget the mermaids.
Well, but the thing is stuff is happening underground.
Good or bad.
I mean, that's where they were operating. That's when they saved us, right?
Well, and not to sound silly, but that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Where it's in the dirt, it's in the soil. I'm not sure if I shared with you guys, but the only reason that my blunderbuss was working underground was because of the residual sacrium in the soil itself. When I would pack my shells, it would get in there and almost create a microweave for the spells to take effect. And it's permeated through the ground. It's almost as if the core of the planet was turned into like some sort of lodestone, and the magic was just like shunted into the ground. And so it just permeates. different pockets.
There's a sharp
and whatnot.
knocking at the door, and it pokes open, and Bruiser, one of your nav team members, comes in, just leans down to your ear and whispers, "Hey, boss, just letting you know we're all on track. We should be getting to that weird misty thing today over Ambercliff. We've got about 4 more hours before the sun comes up, and I think maybe 3 hours before we're close enough to start, getting some more information on it. Just giving you the update. Things are going
All
great."
right.
And then they kind of
Good
head
job.
back out of the room. They pick up a
that-
taquito on the way out. Ooh, taquito. And then they leave.
You're welcome, baby.
Was that loud enough for everyone to hear, or just me?
Just you. They were like whispering into your ear, but you can,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Perception check. I'm just kidding.
That was just the nav team. We're about a few hours away from getting to the mist. If we want to maintain that course, I think we should.
I mean, yes, I think it's worth investigating one by one. I don't know if any of the, weather pattern points of interest really takes precedence over the other. I think it's just we're on our way to Ambercliff, so
All right.
here we are, here we go, kind of a thing.
I'm just going to say my piece then real quick.
Yes.
On what we've been going on just over now, we need to go public at some point, and I think we need to do it when the time's right. If we do it too early, we're just going to be revealing our hand before we can, and Diabolus will just react before we can actually do anything about it. But I think there needs to be a time, and we need to set it up where we broadcast using this televibe technology and give our message out there clear, concise, and to the point, detailing, why they should be suspicious of these people and what we've been doing. And they may not agree with us, but
So there's a problem with that. Well, a challenge. That's how we professionals say it. Randy told me you don't talk about them as problems. You talk about them as challenges.
That is
Okay.
correct.
So today I learned I'm a challenge. Anyway, so we can broadcast a signal, and we can broadcast it in a couple ways. We can do something to disrupt or black out existing televibe frequencies, which means that if they were doing some sort of local video recording, so like a minor image projection sort of thing, we could black out all of their receivers in a building, or in a 100-foot area, so that we could sneak in undetected. We could use it for something to that effect. We can also broadcast a message, but we don't have a lot of range. If I remember it correctly, it's about 100 feet. Which is not going to be hardly anything for infusing it into a city. We would need some sort of way or device to focus and amplify the signal. There's got to be a way that they're doing it, because they're currently doing it now. It would. Do you guys remember encountering anything in any of the big urban areas that you went to while I was gone that would have had it would have been like a big apparatus, would have had to have been up really high so that it could reach over hills and stuff. They were
nothing that sticks to my mind right now. But
you remember when we were at what's that?
can I roll to remember to
Umbral
see if I
Sea.
see anything?
Fox,
If I
you
remember when we were
can
at the-
roll. Yeah, go ahead, Jeb.
You remember when we were at the Umbral Sea and they had those light towers? They were really high up and they could point the light as a beam or
Right.
look at stuff. It'd be something similar, I would imagine, to that, where it would focus the magical energy. Probably higher up though. That was just 2 or 3 stories up on a wall.
Didn't
This would
Bruiser
need to be
say that you all had to
14.
fly up high over a structure in the Kavorite Mountains. Was that
That
something
is-
like this?
It looked more like an assault structure for, I guess,
yeah.
sieging. Josh, do I have any more detail? Do we get any more?
No, and the reason why the lookouts didn't see it is because as soon as they saw it on the horizon, they were like, "Oh, that might attack us," and they went straight up. Altitude up, immediate adjustment, kind of a thing. Fox, you do not recall seeing any such structures as you scanned the world.
I don't know. I think they have to be somewhat new, or they would have to have been placed in concealed areas. Maybe hidden
Well, they
in
couldn't
plain
be
sight.
concealed. Yeah, they couldn't be concealed. They would have to be out with like line of sight to a
That's
very
what I'm
large
saying.
radius.
They could be disguised, maybe.
As a mountain.
Maybe.
As pieces of maybe it's as like a large tree. I don't know. But more importantly, I do agree that we need to figure out how they're doing it. And I think our best bet is to hijack their network and use it to broadcast our message. I don't think we're going to be able to set up our own network.
We need to craft the best message that would reach the most people and make us the most endearing to the people. Like,
Honestly, I don't care how the people think about us. I need them to care more about the aboliths and what they're potentially up to. They could hate us as long as they understand that we are not the enemy, and the enemy is the one funding all of the great projects around them and basically trying to be their friend. And that's going to be really hard. And I recognize that.
If we don't have the message come from us, if we don't care or want to invest the time and resources into fixing our image, the message needs to come from somebody. There needs to be a face or a faceless something, otherwise it's just information. People care
Maybe.
less about like the details and more about how they feel about the details. And if there is a hero or an organization, like a name, a face or something that inspires trust and whatnot and truth, then we could funnel the information through that.
What about a holy site? If this is affirmative, the mic and it kind of breaking into the conversation. What if we went to a site like that, a shrine or a monument of some kind, and we allowed the avatars to present the message?
I was
Yeah,
just about
I
to
think-
say that.
I think the avatars presenting the message would be the best and most impactful.
I mean, right there shows you the gods haven't abandoned them.
I don't know. Like, it's not a bad idea. But do you remember when we met with Queen Salen and we're going to introduce Laredith? She was not very amicable at first to the idea.
This
She
is
felt
true.
betrayed.
Yes,
And so
the avatars, while they present an amount of authority, there is still like a core part of the aboleth's message is that the gods, the old gods, and the avatars were just inherently
Okay.
untrustworthy, that they've
Right.
already failed.
We need somebody who's actually neutral, that represents the people and their situation. Somebody who's not beholden to the gods or to the aboliths or to us. Maybe, and this is a bit of a stretch and he's still biased, but maybe we can get the King of Udril.
That's who I was thinking.
I mean, he carries authority, right? He is a king. I'm sure whatever speech we end up crafting, he could help deliver it just twice as impactful as we could ever write it.
I'd probably let him write and deliver it.
Well, of course I would. You think I'm not going to let him in on the writing if he's going to be delivering it? But yes, no, we need I don't want to get sidetracked by this conversation, but it is something that needs to be done. We need to work on this because the longer that message that they're sending out goes uncontested, the harder it is going to be fight uphill PR wise.
I will say, you did mention the timing of it and how we cannot execute something like this too quickly.
Well,
otherwise we show our hand.
I don't want us to reveal damning information about them if that also reveals how we got it or potentially what we're planning. But I think at the very least, if we can just send out a message that they need to be wary and that we can start a network.
Like I know this is important, but also we have to focus on completing the ritual and
Yes.
finding Kay,
Right.
Because doing that just gets rid of the aboleth, and then we can worry
Now-
about the optics of
Can
everything.
we roll back one think for a moment? There was one of you who said something about a religious site. Who was that?
That was
was me. I suggested that we use a religious site to try and broadcast a counter narrative.
Are you about to mention the problem with that, Clara?
Well, I don't know if there's a problem with all the religious sites, but I did hear some, some dirt about one religious site. So I don't know how you're going to pick one. I imagine there's a lot of them. I've not seen many myself.
Well,
But there's
the issue right now.
There's one I've heard some dirt on. I don't know if it's important.
What'd you hear?
Go. Yes, please tell us.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if you heard anything, hopefully it's good because all our scouts, everything we've passed over, any site that was significant has been demolished, removed, burned.
Yeah, burning being the key word here. I was very surprised. First I want to ask you. Okay, Jeb mentioned sacrium. Sacrium is the stuff that's in the wingle digits. Yes.
Yeah, it's what wingle digits are made of. It's a powder.
Do they? I've never seen anybody use it outside of a wingle digit. Is that normal?
It's not. Well.
What would it be for?
So, like I said, I inadvertently would sprinkle a bit of it into my spell shells, and I could pop one out of the bandolier and kind of like show how it works. But if you remember our good friend Circles, the one whose sword I gave you, used to snort this stuff and magical things would happen. So I'm not sure if there's an underground group of Secrium junkies or something like that.
Yes,
familiar.
It seemed as
They
though
would
that
call
was
it the
implied,
fire of
at least.
knowledge.
Yes. If I remember correctly, Circles heavily implied that the some of the employees of the Bright World Company would enjoy the wild magic effects of the Sacrium when they were not.
I know Foxy was saying that you don't care what people think of you, which is probably why you're wearing a tutu. But I was thinking
That's the only reason.
I'm
just
thinking
kidding.
maybe that right there is some pretty good dirt on a company that you're trying to smear. But anyway, so that's not where I was coming from though in the first place. The first place I was thinking of was I met this wheatling, that was holed up in Geim with all of us. And he said that he saw the burning of a religious site. He saw one burned down. But he saw it before it was happening a little bit too, which was interesting to me. He said that before that happened, he remembered this really clearly. I don't know why it's stuck in his head, but somebody yelled who was burning this site down. They was getting everything set up. He said, "Sever the ties," and then they drew something in the sacrium. But he was a little guy, like made me look huge.
Wait,
little
they
guy.
burned it with Sacrium?
They drew something in the sacrium. Like they put sacrium on the ground, but they put it in like a rune or a symbol or something, but he couldn't see it because he wasn't flying. He was hiding down in the grass. This little guy breaks my heart.
You did.
Wait a minute.
Did you see the symbol?
I didn't. Not like I'm saying it wasn't me though. It
was another guy who told you.
It was this little wheatling. He was just hiding down in the crabgrass. He was trying really hard not to get dead. And as soon as the fires came up, he ran, which was smart because
Right.
that's going to kill their night vision, right? They're not going to be able to see him. But yeah, he was pretty sure that they were drawing
the
something. They weren't
ties.
just dumping it on the ground. It wasn't like gunpowder or something where it's gonna be just burning. It was like they needed to draw something.
I mean,
and that really stuck out to him. But he was
that has to be like how they were severing ties to. That has to be how they were funneling magic in the first place underground. Remember, that was one of the first things we found. I'd imagine it has to be related to that. Where maybe each of these sacred sites still have a trace connection to the gods. And
Wait a minute.
I mean, we saw visions the last time, the very first place of worship we went to in the underground.
If the magic during the darkening was sucked into the ground, then that stands. Could I make an Arcana check, DM?
Yeah.
I'm pulling together a theory.
I'm watching it. I'm watching the pieces come together in your head right now.
Oh yeah, it's all
That is
all coming
a
together.
13 plus 12 for a total of 25.
Woo.
Here's my
That's
theory.
like some Fox
Okay.
math there.
If if the magic was pulled into the ground, then that means that there would be concentrated pockets of magic around holy sites that were connected to gods. And like, does that mean like if they're severing ties, does that sound like it would, like the concentrated magic would move to a centralized location?
You think like we're
Or
moving the
it
magnet?
would cut them off and isolate them?
Remind me what you rolled. Was that 13 plus 25?
No, it was a
No.
25 total.
Oh, okay.
25 total.
13 plus 12.
Okay. So
Yeah, I have a plus 25 Arcana
oh, I was
modifier.
like, how did he even get that? I missed the first sentence of your theory as I was like, how is that possible? Much like you were doing with the holy sites. Okay, so here are the things you can glean about holy sites. One of them is that yes, there probably would be a pocket of like stronger concentration, basically, of magic around those holy sites, especially divine magic. Recall there are two kinds of magic. There is
Right.
wild or arcane magic, and then there is divine magic. The divine magic and the way that weave would function, you piece together in this moment. You are an arcane wizard, so this is new territory for you.
Right.
But you are piecing together in this moment that much like the weave allows arcane wizards to pull on the threads that connect all things, divine magic must involve a thread that connects its user to its god. And holy sites, it stands to reason, would be built at the kind of place, what we might call like a ley line, the kind of place where that connection is the strongest or where that thread is most apparent. In fact,
Okay,
with a
so-
25, you could extend that one step further, and you could assume that thread that connects to their god would count or constitute a link between the material plane and one of the
That's what
outer
I-
planes, magically speaking.
That's what I was thinking. Like that is where, yeah, like it would poke through from the material plane to the plane where the deity resides. And if they're using Sacrium, which is arcane, and they're drawing sigils, which is arcane, it means that they could be permanently cutting off the access and connection of the gods from our world entirely.
Then, in that case, the avatars will be completely without magic. And divine spellcasters will just have no access to any magic.
All right.
Yes.
So we know
And-
they're. Sorry,
one thing you have
No,
learned
you're
already.
getting overwhelmed.
One thing you have learned already thus far in your adventure is that the avatars, I believe it was Garlo who told you this in the one with Garlo's lore. Garlo told you that the avatars themselves are actually deposits of divine magic. They are like a holy site in that they are the concentration of magic which can
Yeah.
operate independent of their deity's
Okay.
focus. That's the primary purpose of them. So, although you're right in your theory about divine casters, you have the previous knowledge to say that probably the avatars could still recharge, so to speak, if they could find a deposit of divine energy on the material plane.
Well, then maybe I wasn't. Yes, the avatars would still have a chance to essentially recharge, but they would be at least weakened and have less options for connections.
Would each avatar have to go to their specific holy site, or could they go to anyone?
I don't think so. I think like they're just like exit points from the material plane. Once they exit the material plane, then they could probably go to wherever the deities are specifically.
I bet the ritual has to take place at a holy
So
site.
let me try to focus this a bit. They're doing bad stuff, right, with the holy sites, and we already knew that going into this. We just have a better understanding of it. We need to find Kay to complete this ritual. Completing the ritual is paramount.
Yes.
I think having the people behind us would help drastically in this effort, especially because if we try to depose their brand new god as they're trying to set them up to be, even if we're successful, I mean, we might run into a lot more obstacles than we need to.
I think that is fair, and I think the goal of creating chaos for the enemy while we pull off the most impossible task we've attempted to pull off, that puts the odds ever so slightly more towards us. They're still stacked against us, but
Of course. But
Yeah,
furthermore,
it's a race, and we need them to be slowed down.
yes.
I really think that I think the pillars. I think Kay might be there. I am dead set on this unless somebody has a better idea. But we are already here at Amber, and I mean, we can't. We have to remove the possibility he could be here. And I mean, at this point, we're what, 2 hours away?
As you say that, you hear slightly muffled from the lookout nest above the aft castle where you are currently meeting. You just hear kind of a muffled
Land ho! Wait, that's not land. What is that? Does anyone have a line on what that is?
I immediately
running footsteps.
run
and
for the
stuff
door. Yeah.
Bruce is running to the cockpit.
I'm going to run to the back of the room and look out the window.
Okay.
Alan's gonna just look off the side of the deck, get out the door and look off the side of the
I'm
deck.
grabbing a scout and having them point me in the direction.
Yeah, sure. So all of you get to wherever you need to be. The air is thin, but you are not in such a panic that you need to worry about exhaustion. But it is okay, things are, it's thin up here. You are at high altitude, and you can now see in the tiniest amount of kind of dusky glow. The sun is not over the horizon, but you're approaching that point. And so to the rear where Jeb is looking right now, the stars are beginning to fade. And to the fore where Fox and Owlin and Bruiser are looking, the sun is almost over the horizon. And in that glow, you can see that you're approaching that weird misty conglomeration that we weren't. Is it turbulence? Is it something else? What's going on there? You can see that for sure it's not turbulence. It is not a naturally formed weather pattern. But what's weird about it is that it looks almost like there is. So imagine, if you will, someone took a bunch of those toy geometric blocks that you give little kids to play with, the big, it's like a triangle and a semicircle and a whatever, and just glued all of them together into a horrifying sculpture. That's the shape of the mist. So the mist is swirling over and around. It's not static. It's moving. It is mist, but it's formed over something weird. And out of the mist, or out of this structure at random angles, appear to be masts of ships. Some of them are sticking out at 90 degrees, some of them vertically out of the top. One of them is even sticking out vertically downwards. It's like this weird. So imagine again that weird sculpture, but then imagine it had a few sticks just poked out of the edge of it.
We need to stop the ship and pull back. I yell that to a messenger to give that to our nav team.
You're close to the front, and Bruiser's right there with the nav team. You hear the nav team immediately confirm all thrust reverse, and you feel the thrusters on the side of the tugboat kind of rotating into position. And where before it was at optimal, efficient cruising speed, all of a sudden there's this big bright amber flare as they come to life at full reverse, and the ship stops in a minute and a half. There's not a lot of resistance up here at high altitude from the air. And so the ship comes to a complete stop, and you are observing now. You are perhaps, I would say, maybe 100 meters away. You're for the Americans out there, you're 3 school buses end to end away from, just kidding. You're 100 meters away from the mass, if you will. One of them is kind of sticking out towards you. And now that you have become still, you can make, let's have Fox, on behalf of the lookout team, make a perception check with advantage to see what else can be observed here.
Thank you for the advantage.
You're welcome.
20, not that.
Excellent. Ambercliff, is called Ambercliff because it has vast deposits of amber beneath the mountains that created the trade that the city of Ambercliff thrives upon, and because the top of the mountains are sheer, unclimbable cliffs. They stick up like jagged spines off the back of a dinosaur. And this misty structure is centered on the top of one of those, or maybe even two. It's hard to tell with the sun's, coming up on the other side, so it's silhouetted. But it's almost like things have been yanked in to one of the inhospitable, uninhabited tops of one of these cliffs and just smashed together into a sort of area, some kind of structure. You can also see, as you're now kind of observing and the sun is beginning to, the mist is not going away, but it is getting a little easier to see through with the sun. It's almost like cutting directly through towards you, so you can see some vague kind of silhouettes and outlines. And so you can see that, in fact, it is a whole bunch of airships crushed together. And because they have masts, you can be certain that they are the kind that flew before the darkening, that were naturally air-powered rather than having any kind of thrusters. Sticking off to one side, just like jutting out into the distance, is a rope bridge made from the planks of these various ships. And it just kind of sticks out there, and it's kind of flopping around in the wind on one end. So it could be used as a rope ladder, but was clearly intended to be a rope bridge. And those are the things you can observe without going into the mist.
Can we dock on that? If we can get close enough, grab that, tie it to our ship?
Bruiser, you are confident you can.
Yep, I got this. And Bruiser will perform some delicate maneuvers to perform said task without just injuring our ship.
Sure, go ahead and roll me a ship driving check. I believe we use survival for that, but if there's another stat that we use, then that's fine.
Can Alan roll something like Arcana to try to think if there's any sort of natural phenomenon like this that he's ever heard of like things being sucked into, like with extreme force, all to like the same point like that over time?
You don't need to roll Arcana to know that you have not heard of any such a thing being like a naturally occurring thing. There are some spells that mess with gravity.
There are
with force, like wind wall and stuff like that, where you could like blow ships around or whatever. Like it's possible to do this magically, but probably not in a naturally occurring magical phenomenon.
I got a
someone
say it again,
yes,
Trevor.
I got a 25.
25. The ship slowly approaches in an otherwise silent kind of dusk or dawn moment, I should say, because the sun's coming up. A silent dawn. The sun is now just barely over the horizon, like an eyelid that's just barely started to blink open as the airship approaches but does not impact one of the cliffs. From this closer vantage point, B Street is able to go out onto one of the stabilizing fins and catch hold of the rope bridge. Because he can fly, he was the most sensible person to send to do this. He grabs it and kind of flies backwards, where Rex and Sasha are able to help him grab hold of it, and it is lashed to the railing at the top of the tugboat. You are confident, Bruiser, that if you were to bring the tugboat the whole way into the mist, it would be very difficult to navigate back out of safely because of how dense the mist is. So it makes more sense to send a small party over the bridge there to investigate than it does to like bring the ship in and look around, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull Randy aside.
Hey, what's up, man?
Randy,
Yeah.
I want 2 metal hooks affixed to the bottom or to the end of that rope bridge and latched around our rail. I want them to be sturdy, but they can be easily quick released. Can you handle that?
Yeah, I can handle it. Give me like 30 minutes.
Do your thing.
All right. And you see as he's walking away from you, you see him pull his like miniature blacksmithing hammer off of his belt and start tossing it to himself.
Man, he's so cool.
Jen, tell me if you think I'm wrong, but someone did this and they must have done it a while ago, right?
This smacks of my old amethyst lodestone. gravitational forces.
Do you think it's some sort of there's some sort of object at the center that's keeping sort of gravitational hold?
So
On
there's
these
two
ships?
things. Does it feel cold here, DM?
It is high altitude, so it feels cold, but it does not feel unnaturally cold. It feels the same cold as being on the deck in any other high altitude would.
So my two theories are, one, yeah, there is some sort of core in this amethyst that's causing a gravitational shift that's just sucking ships in over time. My big fear was maybe Thraxenhaus here and has been collecting ships and freezing them together. But that would kind of explain the mist because of the temperature, but it doesn't feel too much colder, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Alan,
Yes.
want to be part of the first search party that goes in? Little old times.
It's really hard to take you seriously with that tutu. Like,
All right, Kara.
I mean, especially
I'm
when you
sorry,
got
I
like your
can't hear
hands on your
you.
hips. You got your hands on your hips and you're like, guys, I think we need to go in.
You guys aren't leaving without me.
Don't you
No, of
drive
course
this
not.
thing?
Well, we have teams set up for that, right?
Yeah, I've trained. They're trained.
All right, just checking.
It is a bit of a mental dissonance to think about how the four guys as it were, which are the ones who are often the most because of old time's sake want to go first and go explore what's going on, but also know the most about our mission and would be the natural ones to want to stay alive to carry it on. But all of that said, yes, I would like to be a part of the search party to go in first.
I think
Old habits are hard to
Affirmative
break.
knows more than all the rest of yous put together. So you just keep
This
him
is
here,
true.
you'll be just fine.
This is true. Clara, are you interested in coming with?
You know, curiosity gets the best of me sometimes, but I sort of feel like I ought to stay here. Maybe keep an eye on things, make sure, well, I can hear you with this,
This is true.
this. So if you have any questions for anybody, you could probably just talk to me and I can ask folks who's on the ships already. So,
Good call.
Perfect. Well,
but if you see anything real nice and shiny, please think.
Do you have any of those
for me.
scrolls?
oh yes.
What scrolls do we have?
Well, let me look in. Alan pulls out his report that he was looking at in the meeting at the beginning
Like a
of
big
the
old
episode.
manifest,
Yep. And we have some charms of air bubble, potions of cold resistance. Ooh, yes, let's take those. Charms of cold resistance as well. Air bubble. What is air? Oh, there's a link. Alan doesn't say that. I say that.
A link, like a chain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Link the bubbles together. and make a
Canonically
big
speaking,
bubble.
each of the magical items is accompanied by a small slip of parchment from either Mig, Garlel, or Laredith detailing what it does. So that's
Yes.
Alan has little pink slips or something that he can.
Yeah,
yes.
link to a piece of paper.
Yeah,
It works
check the
out
tag.
as Alan reads further into the manifest, this is actually very handy for the situation we're in right now. That's great. Let's bring the charms of air bubble, the charms of cold resistance, the potions of cold resistance. There's a ring of free action if someone wants that. There's
I wouldn't mind it.
scroll of protection from elementals. That's fine. Rope of climbing may be good. I think let's mostly bring the air bubble stuff and the cold resistance stuff. The other stuff we can sort out soon. And the rope of climbing might be good.
All right,
I
we
should
should.
bet to someone who can't fly.
I
Don't you
can't
dare
fly.
look at me. I can climb just fine.
Well, you can also fly. You have the spell ability
That's
to
right.
fly. Well, if it's all the same to everybody, I will take the climbing. I'm fine to give Fox the ring of free action if no one has any objections.
Nope.
The ring of free action does require attunement.
Well, that might be something left for later then.
How many potions of cold resistance do you have?
We have 11 potions of cold resistance and 3 charms of it as well.
11 potions.
I don't want to necessarily bring everything with us. How long does cold resistance last? Let me see.
1 hour.
We just gotta bundle up.
Oh, but the charms last 24 hours.
How many
So
of
that's
those do we
nice.
have?
We only have 3. So
I say we save it until we need it.
okay, we'll bring the potions then. And we may as well bring. I don't know. Did we bring all of them? How long do we want to be out there? How long do we know we
This is
need
going to be a
out
lot
there?
to carry too. We're going to have to start
This
talking
is
about encumbrance and such.
Yeah.
If we
But
bring it all.
just bring Radford. He isn't he like he likes the cold, right?
All right, let's bring a potion each, just to be
And
safe.
do we want to? Are we okay? Yeah. Well, all right. Let's just do that. Because we don't know how cold it's going to get. I guess hypothetically. And then we'll all bring a charm of air bubble. So
What does that do? Just creates a bubble around you?
it creates a bubble around our head. An air bubble lasts for 24 hours, so more than enough. And it's filled with fresh air that we can breathe. And each charm can be used 3 times. So
Oh, that's good.
DM.
Yep.
I'm gonna try something. You tell me if it works.
Okay.
Fox looks down at the charm of air bubble and he thinks to himself and he pulls fingers to his lips and makes a sound that I, Cleo, cannot make and will never be able to learn how to make. But I whistle and I do like a whoop, and I try to use prestidigitation.
yeah.
Prestidigitation.
Presti. I
Presto.
try to use some Presti to make an air bubble around myself to see if that's powerful enough.
Now made with an ergonomic handle.
Yeah. It is not powerful enough to increase like the breathability of the air around you.
You got bad breath or something? You trying to freshen up the air around your mouth?
It is a great pasta sauce though. Presti. It's like a
Your lips are all red. I think you did it wrong.
No, sorry. I don't know. I was trying to see if I couldn't figure something out. I have to look back into testing that out. All right. I'm going to look to my scouts. I'm going to send messages along, like, make sure Radford knows where we're going. Make sure people who should be in charge in our stead know that we're going.
We should give a time limit.
Yes. How about an hour?
I believe an hour is too short a time.
Well, we're just going into scout, right?
I think
Did you see how big this is?
And we can send a message should that change. I don't
this
think
is
we should
fair.
get lost in there for an entire day. Too much
don't
could
think-
happen in that time.
I don't think a day. I think something more akin to 3 hours to 6 hours. Somewhere in that
Standard
range
work
should
day,
be our.
8 hours.
8 hours is a long time.
How about 5?
5, I think, is a fair amount. That gives us 2.5 hours in, 2.5 hours out.
Yes, Clara?
I was just checking with the DM for the magic earring. Is it that one person is able to take the counterpart with them?
yes. So only Bruiser has it, but they can ask Bruiser to talk to you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
In that case, 5 hours. I nod to the scouts
And Clara.
behind us.
And we'll try to be back in 4, let's say. So that way we're not pushing the limit of worry about us time.
Sounds good.
Don't break curfew, kids.
And you know
Man,
what
this
that
kinda-
means. It means it's story time with the Wingbacker Tavern, and we'll be right back.
That breaks the record for
Senior.
sure.
This one wasn't intentionally like I just kind of split the session in half. So we can have discussion time.
Long ago, the 4 ancients created a world in harmony. Then, everything changed when the chat emped magic. Only Kelnor, master of good vibes, could stop them. But when the world needed
Also
him
go ahead and
most,
open up Albert
he
Radio.
vanished. 2 years have passed, and 4 adventurers have discovered a conspiracy, a company selling magic. And although their roleplay is great, they have a lot of XP to earn before they're ready to save anyone. But I believe they can save the world.
Welcome back to the Winged Badger Tavern, where friends tell stories. Let me introduce you to some of my friends, or rather, let's let them introduce themselves.
Who's first? Is it me?
You go first.
Maybe. Hello, I am Jake, and I play Alwyn Woodrear, the Azamar Barbarian Artificer. And I usually have like a third thing to follow up and finish off my little character intro, but it's been so long that I didn't have one prepped in my head. So,
Hello, I'm Cleo. I play Fox, who is my main character. He's a rogue bardling changeling, and here's my third insert here bit.
Hello, I am Trevor. I play Bruiser, the Winged Badger Inquisitive Rogue, and on to you, Wash.
Hey, I'm Wash. I play Jebediah Peppermint, the molefolk gun wizard who spits fire and fires spit. And I'm really excited to blow some things up. I've got some great spells that I haven't used yet.
And I'm Josh, your Wing Badger Game Master. Without further ado, let's jump back into tonight's adventure with the map. For those of you looking at home, you are looking at my view, which means you can see each player and their radius of view. For the players, they can only see what is in a sphere of 15-foot radius around them, because this mist is so dense and heavy that you have 15 feet of visibility regardless of the ambient light in the area. So even as the sun comes up, it just goes from a dark wall of nothingness around you to a light wall of nothingness around you. But for those of you at home, I thought that might be a little confusing to look at. So you've got my view, and you can see kind of everything all at once.
Should I not be looking at the stream then?
It's not really going to make that much of a difference. I'm keeping it zoomed into you, but yeah, if you just look at Owlbear, then you'll see a little bit more accurately what is happening. And in fact, what is happening right now is as you cross the rope bridge ladder hybrid that you've made for yourselves and step onto the top of one of these thin, narrow, sort of shard-like cliffs poking up from Amber Cliff, you find a few things of interest. First, it has kind of like a green cliff moss clinging to it, bravely hanging on despite what must have been scouring winds over the ages. Owlin, you are the first to clock a disused fire pit. At some point, someone was making fire for themselves here, but the ashes are dark and cold, and it certainly has not been lit recently. You would need to make a check to learn more. Other than that, it is completely quiet, save for the sounds of the rope of the bridge behind and the bridge ahead kind of straining in the very, very soft wind. At this point, players, I'd like you to roll initiative, and we will finish this session remaining in turn order as we explore.
that sounds not sinister.
I got a 9.
I got a 9.
What?
I got a 16.
I got a 6.
Or great.
Trevor
That
and
never
Wash, what are
happens.
your dex mods?
18. Plus 4.
That's
sorry,
not a
plus 4.
mod.
Yeah,
Mine
no.
is +4, but it's my intelligence that I use for this, but it's a +4.
You're both +4?
Yeah.
Twinsies.
All right, just choose between yourselves. Who's going to go?
Wash.
Bruiser, I choose you.
No, after you.
Pokeball, go.
Great.
No, after you.
So with that in mind, we will begin the exploration with Owlin, who is at the front of the group crossing this bridge anyway.
Yeah, Alan went from having terrible initiative, a -1 modifier, to now having a -0, but also getting advantage on initiative. So it's fun
Nice.
being a barbarian. Barber. Alan's going to turn back to the group and kind of, reference the fact that there seems to be 2 rope bridges ahead of them. Which one to you guys seems less scary?
I mean, shouldn't we
Move forward.
check
a
that
little bit.
fire pit?
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Are there any
well,
footprints on the ground?
I mean, somebody set up this bridge ahead of time. I mean, we need to make sure we're not about to run into some people.
Don't we
This
want to
is-
run into people?
This is fair.
Depends on the people.
Yeah.
I mean, they've probably been stranded here for a while.
I don't think they're the stranded type, because if somebody already made a docking point, that's the worrying part.
Alan's going to go over to the fire pit and attempt to investigate any sort of signs of like how old it is, how like often it's been, like when was the most recent time it's been used, etc.
Great. Go ahead and roll that investigation for me. As a reminder, Bruiser, you're on deck for your turn next.
Yep.
That's a 24.
Try licking the charcoal.
With a 24, Alan, this fire pit was built well by someone who knew what they were doing. It seems to have been used many times, but not in the last year.
This has been around for. Did he get an estimate of like how long it's been around?
A year.
Oh, probably 2-ish years to a year and a half to 2 years ago is probably when it was built.
This has been how many years ago was the darkening again? Was that 2 years? 3? Okay. It's been around. This fire pit's been around for about 2 years, but it was only used for about a year. It was well used in that
pre-darkening.
time. It's not pre-darkening, and it also doesn't seem to have been disturbed in a long time. By a long time, I mean about a year.
Right.
And I once again return to my question: which bridge to you guys seems less scary?
And that brings us to Bruiser's turn.
He's gonna move forward towards like the crossroads to get a better view. Are there any footprints on the ground?
You could make a survival check to look for them.
I would love to do that.
Great.
And I got a 6.
Okay. You do not determine, like, it's a cliff face and it's like clinging moss. It's not really imprintable stuff. You know, it would take like a very well-trained eye to spot footprints or tracks on this kind of surface. You are not able to notice anything.
Okay. Would that be my whole turn, or could I also
You've
look
still
at
got some movement left.
Okay, I'll approach this bridge and just like
Great.
just look at it and wait.
It is a
until my
rope
next
bridge
turn.
crafted from sturdy ship's ropes and what looks like reclaimed wood, probably cut from like, you know, an unused deck of a ship or something like that. The wood seems to be in decent condition, with like a few boards maybe having a mild amount of rot, but not such that you could, you know, it wouldn't be unsafe to walk across.
Okay. This bridge looks decent to walk across if someone wants to inspect the other one first. Before we decide.
Jeb's turn next, if he would like to make a move.
I'm going to walk up in between both of these two, and I would like to sniff the air. Do I get any weird smells coming from one side or the other?
Yeah.
Or just in particular?
Make a perception check.
I am making a sniffy perception check.
Yeah, you are.
That is 16.
Nothing on the wind here except the sort of generic floral, like moss smell. The air doesn't seem to carry any like mildewy scents. It's just kind of damp. And you can smell like the ropes are like those big sturdy ship's ropes, so those have kind of like an old twine type of smell.
Sure.
The wood,
Nothing.
The wood smells mildly like damp / you know, starting to rot, but hasn't gone far enough to be dangerous yet on both bridges. And also, if you were to inspect it, the other bridge is similar quality to the one Bruiser is looking at.
Yeah. I like this one over here, and I'm gonna kind of walk to the left one.
Sure. As you approach the left one, you begin to see the vague outline of what looks to be an airship not very far across. Like the bridge is not very long. Which brings us to Fox.
And I feel like it only makes sense. And Fox just walks over to
Or does
the
it make
campfire
too
here
much sense?
and casts Presty
Yeah.
and tries to start the campfire.
It only kind of ignites one little amber or one little what am I trying to say? One little coal of the fire kind of flares to life, just because prestidigitation is a pretty small scale spell. But it catches
Right.
quickly on the remaining ashes, and you get maybe 20 seconds of as the fire kind of flares up before the ashes are fully burnt out again, and the fire pit returns to neutral.
Hey,
Oh, there's no
your
like
magic's
little
coming
spare
along.
pieces of wood.
You got to put wood in there, dog.
Yeah, there's there's two kind of timbers nearby that are being used or would have been used as benches, but besides those, no.
I'll take one of the smaller ones, and I'm essentially trying to just set up a point of reference, and light
We can
this
smell
fire.
the smoke.
Yeah, go ahead. You do that and you light the fire. That's fine.
Okay.
Which
How's
brings
the
us to
fiddle?
Alan's turn with Bruiser on deck.
Well, if Jebediah feels strongly about that bridge, then I think it only makes sense. And
Whoa
Fox,
there.
I do
I just said I
appreciate-
liked it.
Well,
I didn't feel strongly about it.
Well, I'm
just
sorry, I
like
didn't
it.
mean to put that on you. But that's I'm gonna head that way. So 5, 10,
I'll just stick by your side and go along with you.
15, 20, 25, and then Alan's not gonna like get too far in here. He's gonna go like here and kind of wait for everyone else to cross.
Alan,
but
you find
what does he
yourself
see there?
standing on a large wooden galley with broken masts and tattered sails. It looks to have at one time been like a merchant's galley where you can see like pots that have spoiled food in them or kind of the leftovers of spoiled food. You know, it's been a long time since anyone was on this ship. And as you walked up the bridge to the ship, you did note one thing of interest, which is that just below where the bridge is kind of tied on to the railing of the ship, you see 2 puncture holes in the hull. Or in the hull of the ship. They are not, they're maybe like fist sized, they're not like big hole. It's not like a harpoon or something was thrown into it, but they're kind of narrow holes with rough edges that are just kind of punctured into the craft. And just the 2, you didn't see anything else, but there are those 2 little kind of punctures in the side of it, just beneath where the bridge is tied. That brings us to Bruce's turn. Oh, go ahead.
Do they? Alan's gonna, I guess, think on that. I don't know. Yeah, sorry, I don't have a good formulated DM question yet.
That's fine.
Bruiser will move across the bridge with Alan.
Okay.
So that's 15 to the bridge, and then I guess 15 across. Perfect.
Perfect. You see all the things Alan just saw.
Yep. Whoa, this is a neat ship.
Yes. Do you have any thoughts on the possible cause of those holes underneath on the hull?
Could I make an insight check?
You could make a history check with advantage based on your knowledge of like craft,
Okay.
like transportation.
That is
also
a
Jeb's on deck.
22.
22. No, you have no idea what could have caused those. You are certain that they do not serve a purpose. They are not part of the ship, nor would they have been a survival technique for a shipwrecked ship.
Okay. Well, I can tell you they're not there on purpose, at least by the owners of the ship, and it's not by design. So something had to have made those.
Yes, I'm just wondering whether it was a utility created by the crew once they wrecked here, or whether it was a source of sabotage.
As you're talking, Jeb comes up the ramp to join you.
Yeah, most ships aren't designed with big holes in the side of them. Do they look like the talons of a rock?
Fox, you're on deck.
Ooh.
They're too small for the talons of a rock.
Well, sorry, I don't see good during the daylight. The mist
No, that's
kind of
okay.
helps, but
It's okay. Humorously, I thought of the idea of a vampire boat that bites other boats.
I like it.
But I know that is not quite a realistic idea.
Doesn't that
I mean,
mean you're
given enough
standing
time.
on a vampire boat, or is it a thrall of a vampire boat?
Oh,
Be a
this is-
thrall of a vampire boat.
So just to
Yeah.
be clear, you cannot see Fox now, and Fox cannot see you in the mist. So he's just hearing your conversation kind of drift back along with the wind to him.
Fox, get over here. What's taking you so long?
I was finishing up the fire. I
Nice.
make my way over
Okay, Fox is going to cross the bridge, and now you are all on board the galley. Go ahead and Alan, I guess, unless Fox has an action he wants to take from there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna walk the furthest extent I can, and then roll perception to see if there's anything of note on the deck.
Go for it.
Do the holes look like cannon fire?
That is 22.
Okay. Jeb, roll a survival check to try and decide that. Fox, with your 22, looking at this ship, it is indeed a merchant's ship. You can see like, oh, this is where the foodstuffs would go. There's probably somewhere on here a cash chest. You don't see any people. You don't see any bodies. You don't smell any like death or decay. So wherever the people from this ship were, and it probably had a sizable crew, they are not here now.
My hand itches. I silently think about where the merchant's chest would be. Just in my own head.
Sure.
Keep that to myself.
Jeb?
Could I make a case for investigation?
Yeah. Well,
18.
investigation is a hands-on search. But yeah, sure, go for it. Whatever. That's fine.
18.
18. These are not cannon battle scars. Cannons, when they hit things, are not like, it's not a puncture wound. It's like a big,
it's like a splinter.
Yeah, splintered kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alan is going to meander over here and see what's going on with this plank.
Yeah.
Could it be magical in nature?
That plank is coming off the prow of the ship, or the front end, for those of you who are not nautical, and it extends over towards another craft, which, as you're looking from where you are now, you can see has been tied to that prow with more sturdy ship's rope, probably pulled from one of the two ships, has been kind of lashed to the railing of the next craft there, and you can't see enough of the boat to determine what its purpose would be or what size it is, but you are looking towards another boat. You can see a small wooden chest that probably did not hold money on the surface. It's like a practical looking one, probably some kind of ship's gear was in there. But yes, there's a whole nother boat up there.
Well, there seems to be another boat kind of lashed to this one in this direction. Alan will say as he points that way, and then he'll use more of his movement to like kind of move towards the back end of the ship as well.
Okay. There's not a whole lot extra to see other than like parts of ship. So you see more kind of like splintered wood and tattered sails. The main deck that you're standing on seems to be pretty intact regarding like the quality of the wood planking. But if you peek through, one of the hatches to the lower decks, you can see that the lower decks have been gutted and probably explain where some of the wood for the bridges has come from.
Okay, and then Alan would also like to use his action to maybe roll like an investigation or a history or a survival, something where similar to what he did with the campfire, like try to determine the age of
certainly
the materials and stuff.
Yep.
What do you think applies to that? What did I roll last time? Was it survival?
History or survival could both be applied here. I think survival would give you more of the kind of information you're asking about.
Okay. I only got a 13 on survival.
You can't really tell. It's a boat, so it's not like there's a small thing where you can look at what are the signs of use? How did people interact with it? It's like, this is a big old boat. There's nowhere for footprints to go. It's up in the damp mist, so there's no dust collected on it to use. It's just like, is boat.
Yeah. Okay.
Which brings us to Bruiser's turn, and Jeb is on deck.
Bruiser's gonna. Is this the mast part walkable?
Yeah, or Bruiser could also fly across it, but yes, this thing sticking off the prow, you could walk across it.
Okay, Bruiser will walk across it.
Certainly, Bruiser, you find yourself on. Oh, sorry, the first timer has expired. Let me just quick check something here.
Okay.
Great.
Now listen here, first timer.
The second timer is now running. Okay, so you look over at the next boat, and this one is it's sleek, but it's large. This is the kind of ship that you might expect like an escort from a kingdom to have used, with maybe one deck of cannons. It's not like a ship of the line, it's not a warship, but it's the kind of thing that might be used for diplomatic traveling, or for VIPs who need to be kind of escorted by a government or something like that. You see, especially up here at the front of the ship near the prow, a number of different supplies that are mostly related to the ship: spare ropes, spare canvas, the kind of things that merchants can't necessarily afford or aren't willing to spend their gold on, but the kind of things that governments would want their ship to have so that it could survive even if it were damaged in some way. Similar to Alan's experience, the wood decking of this ship seems, clear and natural and whatever. Having crossed over the prow, you can see that there's a bridge off the other side that's been made from a few decks of wood that kind of leads back down to some other structure in that direction. And you also noticed as you crossed that prow that beneath it, there are 2 puncture wounds in the hull of this ship, each about a fist sized.
Interesting. Hey, there's a gangplank on this ship going somewhere else. There's also 2 holes similar to the first ship in this one.
And that brings us to Jeb's turn.
The ship vampire theory doesn't seem as far off after seeing it appear again.
What would you call that? Like a shampire?
Yes, I like that.
Could it be? I mean, considering they're all kind of stranded here, could it be like a harpoon? Like
That's
a
a good
dual
question.
harpoon? Pew pew.
Would that be like the fangs of a ship vampire would be its
A
harpoons?
vampoon.
Is there anything over there? Like do we need to? I can head over to this other ship if you think we're ready to move on.
Yes, I think this side of the ship is fine. It seems like it doesn't lead to anything else.
Well, just
Okay.
we need to be careful, stick together. We don't want to be
I
caught off
agree.
guard by the vampoon.
Specifically the vampoon, yes.
I don't think we have to worry about a vampoon.
Yeah.
Okay, if you say so. That's the first person who gets caught by the vampoon. That's what they say.
That's true.
That's what who says, you?
Every
No, in the
children's
stories.
story.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never.
That you tell
I
at the
know people-
campfires.
No, they don't. As a
Remember that old
procureur
book, National Lampoon's Vacation?
Clearly,
yes.
haven't told children's horror stories at the campfire.
Well, National Lampoon's Vacation is less of a horror story, more of a comedy.
Yeah.
Fox, your turn
Yeah.
is next.
What's up, Bruiser? You find anything over on this one?
There's a gangplank over here and the rest of the ship to explore.
Well,
I rolled a 16 to investigate where I think would be the best hiding location if I were a merchant trying to hide my valuables. That might have been gone, maybe, perhaps, if they're just scavenging it for planks, maybe it went unnoticed.
Yeah, you find it. You find a chest with, a decent amount of gold in it. We would say perhaps 65 gold pieces.
Nice.
Worthless.
I was going to say, gold is not really the preferred currency nowadays.
old world money, huh?
Yeah.
Neat.
Collector's item.
It might come back in vogue.
Is there
you know.
any like
That's the
little
hope.
jewelry or
No,
just gold?
just gold.
You could give it to like Randy, and he could like make you a plate of like a shirt of chainmail, but like scale mail of jingly coins.
I'm
A
just
wildly impractical one, yes.
upset
Yeah, but
that
I mean, it would be Fox, and it would go with the tutu.
This
Yeah.
is true.
I'm just upset they didn't bother to hide anything else of value. I'm gonna move towards the others.
Great. And
I do
Alan,
like
it's your
the
turn
id-
next.
Okay. I do like the idea that it's like, for old time's sake, we're going to scout it out. And for old time's sake is just us like really slowly just kind of joking around with each other and meandering across these ships.
Yeah, this is like like what we used to do.
This reminds me of way back at the way station. You remember that when we like all bumped into each other,
Yeah.
and we were like
know.
slowly crawling around underground.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bruce. You're going to be caught in a lot of in jokes and stuff
yeah,
that you're not
sorry
going to
about that.
recognize.
We'll get there. Time.
Consider this bonding. You get to see Four Guys Ventures and Vibes back before we were Four Guys Ventures. Well,
Yeah, it's like peel the curtain back a little bit.
You get to
Kind
see-
of how the sausage is made.
What's
It's not
Alan
very
up to?
impressive.
Of 4 guys, I guess.
What'd you say, Josh?
What's Alan up to?
Alan is going to follow 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. He's going to dash 45.
Wait up!
50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. There's Alan.
Alan, you
Wow.
moved a little bit further onto this sort of diplomatic or government type airship. You come across a little kind of canvas tent area where there's like a writing desk and stuff in there. You're standing over what would have been used. They're basically large removable grates. So when you remove them, you can put big things in the cargo hold of the ship or take them out again. Looking down there, you see 4 bodies. Each of the bodies appears to have been long dead. They are not quite skeletons, but they are certainly not all intact, as though they had died recently. And each of them has 1 or 2 puncture wounds, approximately fist-sized, through the creature that has died. They're all humanoids of some kind. They're
In the same spot?
no, not in the same spot. Random spots.
Oh, okay. So, like, not at the neck.
No.
Fist size,
yeah.
all of the neck.
A neck-sized
He
hole in the
punched
neck.
his fist.
There
That
is
sounds like something Radford would do. You just like punch a hole right through someone's neck.
there is evidence of violence down here. I think I see 4 bodies with similar puncture wounds as the quote unquote wounds in the ships. Perhaps the vampoons, shall we call, went through the ships and also hit some of the crew members underneath. I'm tempted. I see some stairs over here. I'm tempted to go down and take a look.
It is Bruiser's turn next,
Alrighty.
with Jeb on deck.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and then he will use his dash to go down the stairs and investigate more.
Sure. So you head downstairs, and you're at the bodies. You can roll survival to try and examine the wounds, or you can roll investigation to look for loot.
Could I do investigation on the bodies for like insignia?
You can
and,
to like check them
clothing
for loot.
marked?
Yeah, like for loot and stuff, you can. But
Okay.
investigation would not tell you anything more about the wounds or how they died.
Okay. He's not interested in how they died. Well, I mean, he is interested, but I got a 19.
A 19. Examining the bodies, you find insignias that indicate that they are part of the diplomatic corps of the city-state of No Stone. That is the Darude nation. And these 4 creatures are part of a crew just based on your knowledge of, the way that this kind of ship is staffed. 4 is very low for the number of bodies that you should be able to find. But even down here on the lower deck, you don't see any others. There are a bunch that are missing.
Eaten by the vampoon.
You also find a notebook, like a ship's log, as you investigate one of them, that indicates the ship was on, routine diplomatic visits, basically, where it was just, kind of traveling around Urada, interacting with various governments, making sure relationships between nations were okay. It wasn't doing anything of a sensitive nature, so to speak. It had an ambassador on board who would be like the VIP, and then it had a slim but standard crew. It wasn't like outfitted for battle or anything like that.
Does the log mention any like sudden things happening that would indicate how it got here?
The log mentions the darkening and that they were caught in a sort of like an airstream, and then the log has an entry to indicate that it was approaching what looked to be like a set of cliffs, and that they were going to try and intentionally beach the craft there to see if they could find their way down.
Okay.
And that's what you're able to learn from it.
So these guys are from No Stone. There should be a lot more down here if like to be expected. Like 4 is not enough to crew this ship. And then I found a log that details like where they went and that they got caught in an airstream. and they were heading to a cliff to try and just purposely dock the ship so they could escape, essentially.
But then that's where the log ends?
Yes.
Interesting. So whatever happened must have been somewhat sudden.
Fox, what's your passive perception?
Ooh, I rolled a die for no reason. But it was a good roll. 16.
16. Fox, as Owlin and Bruiser kind of vanish into the somewhat oppressive, mist, the damp cold kind of clinging to your arms and legs, you just kind of turn briefly. You're just kind of looking around, and you think for just the tiniest moment that you hear the sound of one shuffling footstep to your east, or on this map to your right, out of sight, but somewhere out there, just the one. Then you don't hear any more.
Do I have? Is it like a shuffling footstep? Like, oh, that was over on the other side of the room, or was that was directly behind me?
No, not like directly behind you, like off somewhere in the mist.
All right.
The prow of this ship is high enough that you would need to stand on the prow to look down and see what was beyond it. And if you move your mini onto the prow of the ship, it will reflect that, and you'll be able to see down there. So if you choose to go that direction, you can. That brings us to Jeb's turn.
Jeb.
They're really rambunctious over there.
I'm hearing.
What do you think?
I'm hearing stuff.
Like in your head?
No.
Like aboleth things?
No, I think I heard somebody move.
It's the Vampoon.
Is it? Oh, is it the Vampoon?
I'm being serious, Jeb.
Oh, sorry. Where?
Over off the bow prow, the front.
Okay. I don't know why they don't use just like normal words for nautical things. Right? Even aeronautical.
You mind giving it a check
over there?
Real quick? I'll keep an eye on the bridge.
I'll use my eagle vision to look.
Jeb, eagle-eyed in broad daylight.
I tell you what. I will load up a spell in my blunderbuss, and I will
I'll go
hold my action to shoot whatever comes out if it looks dangerous.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, and I'll move over here to the front, to the prow front.
Sure. If you move your mini onto the actual prow there, the fog of war will reveal what you can see on the other side, like where you can look down. You should be able to see.
Oh, there you go. Yep. I see precarious. It looks like a bridge that we didn't choose before.
Can I move my mini?
Yeah, it's your turn. Because he's holding an action.
I'm king of the world.
Are you yelling?
No.
Okay.
It's just reference. I'm gonna look around. I'm gonna roll a perception, I guess.
Okay.
I'll use the roll since I rolled it before and I didn't use it. If you don't mind.
Sure.
I got a 23.
A 23. You don't see anyone. There's no creatures here to see. You hear one more shuffling footstep to the northeast of you, still pretty far.
All right. I just point silently in that direction. I hear it again.
I don't hear anything. Do I hear anything, DM?
Nope. It was very soft and very far away.
What if it's haunted?
Now who's being serious?
I am. Okay? I mean, with the connection severed, souls might not be able to make it across since the darkening, and all these ships are...
Alan, you're next.
Probably all here right as darkening happened. I don't know. It's a viable theory.
But there's a Vampoon thing here that's like poking holes in ships and people.
Maybe I heard the ghost of the victims. I don't know.
Cleo, roll a d20. Tell me what the
Okay.
number is.
Has Alan
8.
been able to hear the discussion of
No, because they've been keeping it down to like a
Yeah,
whisper.
we've been whispering.
The second timer has expired. The third timer is beginning.
Alan
say
is
we
gonna go below deck with Bruiser and also investigate the bodies, but not this. Like Alan's more trying to determine cause of death,
Survival check.
that sort of stuff. Do you say survival?
Yep.
Okay.
But I feel like it's like phasmophobia, where like the ghost activity is ramping up every time the timer goes off.
14 on survival.
Great. Cleo, what was that d20 roll?
8.
8.
Yep.
Okay.
You want me to add modifiers to that, or just straight?
Nope, just the straight roll.
Yeah.
As you're standing there next to Jeb and kind of looking out, a very sort of sudden gust of wind just kind of blows into you, and you kind of teeter a little bit, and you're able to catch yourself on the railing of the ship behind you, but you cut yourself on like a little bit of a like rust or corrosion on the metal railing. Roll a Constitution save.
I hope you have your tetanus shot.
We're gonna
What's
find
tetanus?
Lockjaw is going to give
All
you
right.
disadvantage on charisma checks.
Hear me out. 3 is just the right
You have the
number.
poison status for 1 hour.
Ooh.
Poisoned by the Vampoon metal.
Okay, so
Alan, you investigate the 4 bodies that are down here, and what you determine is that the puncture wounds are not serious enough to be the cause of death, but there are no
Really?
other signs of physical
Even though they're
struggle
fist
or other.
sized?
They're fist sized, but they're not on organs. It's like a hit through a shoulder or an attack
And there's
through,
not
like, a
enough
leg.
like dried blood on the ground for it to have been blood loss.
No, there's not enough dried blood for it to have been blood loss. In fact, it looks
Weird.
like the wounds were like filled, or like whatever punctured them was not removed until after death. But you are not sure what the cause of death was because there's no other sign of a struggle or damage. But these wounds are not fatal. They are also too clean for a harpoon or another hunting weapon.
Okay. If I were to venture a guess, would I say that the way that they're arranged, and with these facts in mind, it seems like maybe there's like a ritual that went on?
No, it does not appear so. They do appear
Okay.
to have all been like brought to a location, like they're all almost on top of each other, but it doesn't look like a ritual or anything. Like it just
Okay.
looks like they were left here.
Well, this is quite
Peculiar.
strange. Yes, they don't seem to have died from the puncture wounds necessarily. They're also
Bruisers on
quite
deck.
they're also quite clean wounds, like not from like a harpoon that would have pierced through the bridge and then into them. Like that would have been really messy. This is
Quite the puzzle.
it's strange. I think I'm gonna go back up and rejoin the others.
Oh, I was
So-
going to keep exploring the back of the ship.
You are confident, Bruiser, that there's probably not much else to find on
okay.
this ship.
So that's as far as Alan can make it with his movement and making that check.
Sure.
So
Does the ship directly above where I am, does that look like I could jump that gap?
It does. You also are pretty confident there's a little
Oh.
bridge there.
Oh, I see that.
To the upper left of you as well. Yes, you're confident you could make it over there. You think you could do that. You could pull that off.
The flying creature questions his jumping ability.
Yes. I would like to just run, jump, and then do one little flap over onto here.
Sure.
A double jump,
A
if
single
you will.
flap. Bruiser jumps out of sight of most of you, actually all of you. He kind of disappears into the mist, and Bruiser, you lose sight of them
Bruiser?
as you jump
What do you-
onto this next craft. This one is a craft of very different make. You think probably from one of the more industrious parts of the world, maybe from the A2 city of Sila or something like that. It is a pretty large and fancy ship. Like the quarters or the captain's quarters at the rear end of the ship where you are now have like a skylight with glass, above them and stuff like that. So this ship is a little bit nicer. As you made your jump, again, 2 puncture wounds in the hull. In the hull, right underneath where the bridge is tied. But you didn't take the bridge, but a bridge seems as fine as the other ones did visually.
Yeah.
And again, large mast sticking up ahead of you that's kind of like cracked, worn from the years, weird fraying ropes and that sort of thing. Also, what's your AC?
Ooh, my AC is 16.
16. Okay. Bruiser, you are just kind of taking in the details of this ship when from somewhere, nowhere, anywhere, something kind of flies out of the mist and sticks into one of your shoulders. It's just this long reaching, like pointed arm of a thing. Sticks. You can't see the source of it. You can't see whatever, but it attaches into you or kind of punctures into your shoulder. You take 21 points of piercing damage.
Whoa.
And your status is grappled as you are yanked off your feet further into the mist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Does it yell, "Get over here"?
I just
Get over here.
Yeah, Bruiser yells, but is sucked off into the distance. The rest of you hear his yell, but you can't see him. You don't have any indication of exactly where he is. Bruiser, you still do not see whatever it is that has hooked you, as it, is kind of pulling you in towards it.
do I so I don't see the end. Is it on a rope or is it?
You're not sure. Some kind of long, pointy something. It seemed kind of fleshy, like an arm, whatever has hit you. But you're not sure what exactly it is. You do still, this is you triggering a delayed action, so you still have an action on your turn. If you want to try and escape, you can try and escape from the grapple.
I would like to try and escape.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so, I would like to try and escape.
Great, so that's a strength or dexterity check with a DC of 15.
I am doing a dex check.
Okay.
That is a 10.
A 10. You are not able to escape.
You have the rod of dex, don't you?
Impaled your shoulder.
I do have the rod.
Maybe do a little re-rolling action.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Yes, I would like to use the rod of dexterity to reroll.
Okay.
17.
17. You are able to basically wriggle free, and whatever it is that grappled you, boom, disappears off into the mist. It kind of goes like on your screen vertically and to the right, or for those of you looking at the top-down map who want real directions, like north and east. It kind of disappears into the darkness. Or I guess it's kind of just a grayness now that the sun is more up.
Can I hear my friends screaming or shouting?
I don't know if any of them shouted, but
I was like, you okay?
I should have more explicitly said, I'm going to find the others and you should too.
Hello?
You can all barely hear Bruiser.
Bruiser, we need to hear the sound of your voice to follow you.
I think I'm somewhere like north-ish of you guys.
Jeb, it's your turn.
Oh man, Fox. He's so far away. I have stubby feet.
You want me to carry you?
That is demeaning.
I mean, if we could, you remember? I think one time I had you on my back and you were like firing off spells.
When there was one set of footprints in the rope bridge, those were the times when Fox was carrying you. Sorry, I just reset Josh's joke but added one sentence to it.
Yeah.
Josh.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Fox, I'm gonna climb up your back. I can't get around your tutu. Can you like push it down or something?
I'm gonna. I shrink the tutu down to like an inch, like really short.
I appreciate your commitment.
You hear Clara's voice yelling back to you.
That was not the deal.
This is an
Got
emergency.
drawers on underneath.
I do.
All right. I'm gonna climb up onto to Fox's back.
Great.
And I'm just gonna like essentially sit on his shoulders, like my feet are dangling over his chest. Yeah.
Got it.
Like a piggyback ride.
Okay.
All right.
All right, and I'm just going to ready another firebolt. You know,
Yeah.
if I happen to accidentally hit your tutu, don't think twice about it. It was an accident. But let's. But I'm gonna ready an action in case if I see this dangerous creature of some sort. Whatever. Tally ho! Yeah.
Okay, now that's demeaning.
Well, if it's demeaning for me, it's going to be demeaning for you too.
Is that what's been putting holes in things? What
He
crap?
says with a hole in his shoulder.
I don't know.
Hey, just making sure.
Jeb, I'll move you to wherever Fox is when he finishes his move action.
All right.
That's fine.
10 feet.
I'm up here.
Could be another 10 feet.
Okay.
I'm just trying to book it. I am dashing, using my bonus action to dash.
That's
so I
fine.
still have an action.
Jeb, Alan.
I'm coming. 10.
Once it's my turn, I'm coming.
All right, so that's 30 feet here. But Bruiser, can you hear me? Where are you?
Yeah, you're getting closer.
Okay. Gonna go ahead. We're gonna go for it.
Great.
That's I think 20 feet right there. Hello?
Hello?
Are
You sound very close.
You do sound closer to each other at this point. You think Bruiser is off to your left or to your west, somewhere in that general direction, but you would need to use an actual skill check to try and really narrow it down. As you've been sprinting and carrying Jeb, like the air up here is pretty thin. I'm going to need a Constitution save versus a level of exhaustion from that kind of sprint. That's a lot you're asking.
Remember, you have an air bubble charm ready to activate.
I'm gonna. And if I even feel the constriction
as
of
soon
my
as you
lungs,
feel it, you can do that, but that'll be your action this turn, so you won't be able to try and zero in where Bruiser is any further than somewhere to your left.
Be careful. There's something hitting things and grabbing stuff.
Is this traversable?
No, that
If
is.
I do a dex check?
No, that is the. It's like a crossbar on the mast of a ship, so it's way above you.
Oh, it's way above.
And the ship
Okay.
to your left is very tall, so while you can see the hull, you cannot see onto the main deck from where you are.
All right, I'll just finish my movement then.
Great. You do see now, there's a little bit of a bridge there available to you. Alan, as Jeb and Fox rush off towards Bruiser, their voices get softer and softer. You hear the loud footsteps of Fox with the extra weight of Jeb on his shoulders kind of clomp, clomp, clomp down the wooden bridge away from you. And that brings us to Alan's turn.
Okay, Alan has been a little bit torn whether to come back like the way that he came from, because that's like Bruiser went from that direction, or to like kind of take the way that the other two are going. He's gonna see if he can essentially, if there is a bad guy, maybe he's able to flank it if he goes back the other way.
Okay.
He's gonna try to dash, but if dashing is gonna give him exhaustion,
It
like if he
surely
feels
would,
that, okay, then he's gonna use his 40 feet of movement plus activate his charm of air bubble.
Great.
So air bubble 5, 10,
Bruiser, it's your
15,
turn. What are you doing, buddy?
20.
I don't. I'm probably gonna. Are there stairs going to that little upper part in the back?
Yes, there are stairs ahead of you that would lead to kind of the aft castle of the ship. Also, now that you have kind of a moment to think, you're able to kind of take in that this is another smaller, like merchant style craft with a bigger cargo hold in the lower center of it.
Okay. Bruiser will come up here and
Bruiser, you should tell him we're in combat.
Bruiser, as you peek over the side, you do see down on the bridge, pretty nearby. You can see Fox and Jeb as they're they're looking around but haven't quite noticed you yet. But they're down there on the wooden bridge.
Hey, I'm up here.
Great. Are you okay?
That thing hurt, but yeah, I'm fine for now.
Jeb, it's your turn next.
There's a thing that hurt you? What is it?
It was a long, fleshy like arm thing that just grabbed me out of nowhere and then dragged me onto the ship, and then I pulled it out, and then it continued off into the mist. And I guess it's what's been grabbing these ships.
Tell somebody at home base. That way they know we're in
The third
trouble.
timer has concluded. Jeb, what is your AC?
My AC is 12, but I would like to know if something like I could use a reaction to bump that up. I'd like to know what the roll to hit is.
You may use a dexterity save to determine whether you are able to, or actually your passive it's attacking you from stealth. So what's your passive? You're actively looking. I'll give you a perception check to see if you spot the attack before it hits you.
That's a 16.
Okay, you have just the tiniest seconds warning as you see something blur out of the distance on your map from the top right towards you.
The reaction, I'm gonna cast shield.
Okay.
AC is 17 for the rest of this round.
Okay. It got a 21 to hit.
Ooh.
Dang.
You are grappled. You take 21 piercing damage, and you are yanked off of Fox's shoulders.
Jeb!
And 30.
Can I make a
feet
strength
away.
check to drag Fox with me? You said 23 points of
21
damage?
points, and you can make the
21.
check, but it's going to be really tough.
Can I make a strength check to hold on to him?
You can give him the aid action, so you may make your
Okay.
strength check with advantage.
All right.
Come on, Jed.
So I rolled a 10
Okay.
and I have 0 strength, but it works anyway because I'm feeling lucky.
You're feeling lucky.
And I don't want to die.
Somehow you have no idea how. Neither of you has any idea why it's working. But whoops, I grabbed both minis. Neither of you has any idea why it's working. But Jeb is able to grab hold of you and drag you along to wherever I don't know why I can't move you independently of each other, but I'm.
Oh, you
that's good.
locked him?
Just do it. Just do the thing. You can do it now.
Oh, okay.
You can do it now.
Oh, I see what happened. Okay.
I had
you
attached him.
Yeah. So you are dragged with him, though not impaled, but you can see this kind of like grayish, fleshy arm thing that has just kind of impaled itself into Jeb's arm. Jeb, it like gets you in probably your off arm, your not blunderbuss arm,
Jeb,
but it just kind of stabs right into you and
Get it
yanks
off.
you.
It's in my arm. It's in my arm.
As you're being pulled, you are kind of buffeted across this ship, especially Fox. You take 6 points of bludgeoning damage as you're just kind of slammed into like the grate and the railing and the mast and what as he's kind of yanked across there. This ship that you're being pulled across is in a similar state to the others, though now you are beginning to smell kind of an odor of death from somewhere on our map above you. Somewhere north of your location, you're starting to smell like decay and death and things. And that brings us to Fox's turn, unless Jeb is going to. I guess that was kind of your action, was holding onto Fox and dragging him with you.
If you want to make that my action, that's fine.
Because you also
I had used a
activated the
reaction,
rod.
but yeah.
So
That does the rod? Does that take an action?
I thought that would be a reaction. You using the rod to revert a save, because it's a reaction to knowing a save was failed.
It just says you can choose. It doesn't say whether it's an action or not. But I did use my reaction to cast shield, so regardless, if that's fine. That's fine. That's your
So
call.
it's Fox's turn, and Alan, you're on
Okay.
deck.
Bruiser, how many times have I to tell you? Tell somebody at home.
I will when it's my turn.
It's a free
That doesn't make
action.
sense.
Talking is a free action.
Bruiser's manners in combat are impeccable.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna try to get a strong grip on this fleshy thing.
You don't have muscles, man. Can you cut it off?
I'm gonna just grab it with one arm,
Oh goodness.
and with my other, I go for like a high kick straight down, like an axe kick, onto it, using the blade from my leg.
With a very satisfying shing, the blade kind of slides into place or locks into place coming out of your mechanical leg, and you roll an attack for me.
Ooh. That's a 27. I've rolled 19.
You successfully hit. Go ahead and roll damage.
I feel like I thought there was a passive something or somewhere kicking around about something about 19.
Oh yes, you automatically
next
crit.
to
I didn't
Jeb.
hear you say 19.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
'Cause Jeb's got the rod. So yes,
Yes.
that is a
20.
crit for you. It is not a sneak attack, unfortunately, but it is a crit. So
Okay. I wanted to hold on to the part that isn't attached to Jeb.
sure.
This thing
assume, yeah.
retracts. Yeah. Okay. I gotta pull out all my little die.
Wow.
Wow.
All right. All right. 7. It was just times 2, right? Whatever I roll. Okay. 7 plus 4 is 11. 22.
22. You deal 22 points of damage. You feel a very clean slice as the arm thing continues retracting off into the distance. Jeb, sticking out of your arm is about a 1 shin long length of kind of like a gray, fleshy something. The end of it is pretty sharp, but it's not bleeding. It's just sort of like a mound of flesh that is now sticking out of your arm a little bit. You're kind of impaled by it.
Did we retreat? I'm not sure if we were prepared for this.
That brings us to Owlin's turn.
I'm not sure what this is. And Alan's gonna cross this bridge. 5,
Alan,
10.
follow my
15.
voice.
Is this following the
Bruiser's
voice?
is
20.
to your right.
Okay. 20, 25, 30,
Alan,
35.
Bruiser is on the
It
next
can
ship.
see through the mist,
Okay.
and
Oh,
it hits
Bruiser's
hard.
Bruce is on the next ship, so that means here would be a better spot to try to cross over.
Sure.
Okay. Then Alan's gonna dash now that he has the air bubble.
Great.
45, 50. Why can't he see anything right here?
Because he's not quite on the other side of the hull. The ship is tall.
Okay.
Yeah.
55,
So there's Bruiser.
60, 65.
hello, Alan. Ox and Jeb got pulled by the thing that. Well, I don't know if it was the same exact arm, but
Which direction? Which direction?
that direction, and I point northeast of
Upright.
here.
Okay.
I
Fox
can
and
imagine
Jeb,
Alan
where
making
are
those
you?
noises.
You
We're over
hear
here.
Owlin yelling in the distance somewhere.
Think we're the next ship over.
Owlin, they're somewhere to your right.
Oh,
Bruiser, you're on deck.
Yep.
dang! This is crazy. How hard it is to navigate in the mist.
Owlin, as you're running, I would like you to make a dexterity save.
Okay. Is it against something I can see?
No.
Okay. That's a straight up 9.
Straight up 9. As you are running and just kind of like you're trying to navigate and the mist is kind of creeping in against you and everything is weird and hard to see and you're kind of swerving or you're doing like that thing that like neurodivergent people do when they walk where they have to like, oh, the hip has to get out of the way of the corner or they have to lean because there's a shelf there. You're doing like that as you walk across or run across the ship. And at one point you make a turn in such a way where your pack smashes into like a vertical wooden wall of the ship. It kind of like ricochets off and you find that something in your inventory is damaged. The most recent non-weapon that you interacted with from your inventory is damaged. As you
Would that be
continue
my bubble
sprinting.
charm? My air bubble charm?
Not the one that no, because I guess you're holding that. So
Okay.
let's go one back from that.
Let me think. What?
If you don't
Yeah,
know,
like
just
a
pick one
potion.
near the top of the list.
Boxers,
Isn't it?
briefs.
Oh, your boxers.
I'm thinking something that's in his pack, not something that he's wearing.
Oh,
It would be the potion of cold resistance, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it might be.
Yeah.
So one
Okay.
of the
So my
potions of
potion
cold
of.
resistance is damaged, or if you only brought one,
Okay.
then yours is damaged.
All right.
And you kind of feel it kind of like leaking through your pack, even as you round the corner onto the plank that will lead away from this ship and towards the
My
next one.
back feels warm for a little bit.
Which brings us to Bruiser's turn. Unless Alan's
Bruiser's
taken.
gonna-
No, you did an action because you dashed.
Yeah.
Bruiser's gonna fly across to the dock where he last saw Fox and Jib,
Of course.
and then he's gonna. Is the ship to the right tall, or can he fly to that one too?
It's not unclimbably tall, but it would be 15 feet to get onto the deck. Like if you go straight to your right, that would be 15 feet instead of 10.
Okay, that's fine. And then he'll go Fox, Jib.
You hear Bruiser from somewhere south of you.
Yeah, did you have you told home base yet?
I'm going to now, and then he's gonna activate the earring.
Clara, you hear Bruiser's voice through the earring that you're wearing.
Laura, there's
What? What?
there are these the gray fleshy like arms that are grabbing people.
It's the fluffy. There's it's like the voices in my head have company. What's going on?
There's gray grabby fleshy like objects pulling us and dealing quite a bit of damage. They also are responsible for pulling
Does
all
that
of
mean
the ships
ouch?
here.
What do you mean, like what?
Yeah, ouch. Very ouch.
Ouch!
Yeah, I have not heard of these. I have not heard of these. Yes.
Nope, you've not heard of them.
I said, well, do you need us to come get you? Do you need me to ask somebody? What can I do you for?
Probably ask around, I guess, see what they are. If anyone knows anything about them.
And reinforcements!
Fox,
Does
you
that
just
pick
hear in
up?
the distant no.
Does that pick up?
No,
on
because
the
it's
thing?
arcane.
Okay.
You only hear what Bruiser says.
I'm only hearing Bruiser's side, so when Bruiser's just like, just ask around, I guess.
Just if anybody has free time.
I don't want to put anyone in danger, Fox.
You hear
We're
that.
in danger!
Well, it sounds like you all
We can
already
deal
in
with it.
danger, but
Yeah, but
no,
we
you
could send
just come
people who are
back.
combat tested and proven.
We're gonna roll down to Jeb's turn here.
I am so mad right now. I am so mad on like all different fronts. Fox, you said you were going to try and like hang on to the arm thing when you cut it, right?
Yeah, did I not do that, or am I still holding on to it?
Oh, you're trying to hold on to the retracting part.
Yeah, I specifically mentioned like trying to hold on to the part not attached to
I
Jeb.
misunderstood because when you were doing the cut, you specifically held on to the other piece. Like, you know, you were trying to sever it from Jeb's shoulder. That's fine. You're wily. Sure, you held on to it.
Okay.
So that means Jeb held on to you. So you got dragged up here. In which case you are way far from Bruiser here. You
And
definitely
we did
can't
not
hear
have
him
that
anymore.
conversation.
No, that conversation
Okay.
happened. I'm not going to undo it. But
Okay.
but yeah, they're way gone. You have been yanked to a ship that you've been yanked to a ship that appears to have been split upon the rocks. And you can see a sort of a collection of dead bodies arranged in a circle, and you can also see a creature that looks like it's like shaped kind of like a humanoid, but it is a generic fleshy looking something with kind of like decrepit sort of like sagging skin that's it's almost like if someone put clay in the oven but didn't leave it quite long enough, and so it was still kind of soft when you took it out and it collapsed in on itself. It has these weird like kind of dark streaks coming down its face that almost look like tear tracks, but they're not. And it's just sort of it's kind of looking at you, and you're holding onto its arm, so it's like as you know, just kind of like grunting and general sort of like an upset noise. However, as you come into its sort of area, you know, as you get the visual on it and as it gets the visual on you, I'm just trying to put it on a grid space here. As you are able to see each other, it's going to attack with its other arm, and it's going to shoot out towards the two of you. Seeing the blade on Fox's leg, it's going to attack Fox this time instead. So Fox, what is your AC?
15.
Okay. Your 15 is not enough, and so for 21 hit points of piercing damage, the left arm, boom, slams into your shoulder, and you are grappled. You are also... No, you're not pulled anywhere. It's going to keep you at 10 feet away.
I'm going to look at Jeb while I'm in the middle of being severely wounded, and I'm just going to look him dead in the eyes and be like, is this necromancy, Jeb?
And that is the end of its turn, because this is all part of its attack motion,
Right.
since you rode the arm back. So that will be, I suppose, Fox's turn, because he's after Jeb. So Jeb or Fox, one. I guess it was Jeb's turn because we just...
Yeah, it was my turn.
So Jeb, your turn.
Yeah.
This feels like necromancy.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, DM,
The fourth timer has it.
one of its pokey things is in Fox now. And Fox is holding its other arm.
Yes.
Is it considered grappled?
Fox is considered grappled, and I guess, yes, it is also considered grappled because it's like the circle of life. Yes.
We grapple each other.
They are both considered grappled.
Then I would like to twist down Big Boy, and I'm going to use something I've never used before. This is a new thing.
Let's go. New things.
We love new things.
Mathematical signs start to float around in the air around Jeb as he uses Flash Recall. It's a bonus action, and it lets me instantly replace a spell that I have prepared with one that wasn't prepared.
Amazing.
So I am going to instant prepare a spell. I'm going to swap out Sunbeam for Disintegrate, and I am going to fire a disintegration beam at him. He's going to need to make a dexterity saving throw, presumably a disadvantage because he's grappled.
Got it. He's going to... So we're going to start with that dex save. At disadvantage, that amounts to... What's his dex mod? That's a 12 on his save.
He needs to be at a 16, which means he's going to take 10d6 plus 40
Ouch.
force damage.
Plus 40?
Plus 40.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your 10d6. That is not a guaranteed kill.
Let's see here.
That is a lot of damage.
He takes 78 points of damage.
What was... Can you tell me what just the d6 were?
All of the d6?
No.
Oh,
yeah.
what?
So like you did 10d6 plus 40. I took the 40 off already.
No worries, no worries. Well, it would have been that minus 40.
guess
So
you're right.
38.
Yeah. I don't know why I didn't figure that out in my head. I'm sorry.
Math is hard.
Math
okay.
is hard.
Or whatever.
So the creature, as you hit it with this disintegration ray, some of its kind of sagging, like clay-like flesh begins to sort of vanish and burn off or singe off of it in the disintegration ray. It does begin bleeding fairly heavily. However, it is still on its feet and looks aware and present and like it can continue the fight. This brings us to... well, Jeb, you're not grappled. Are you taking a move action?
Dang it. No. I'm sticking with Fox.
Okay.
We are not departing.
Fox, it is your turn.
All right. I guess I will use my action. Can I use a bonus action as a rogue to do this to get ungrappled?
Escaping the grapple, I think, is still an
Action. Yeah.
I believe.
Okay.
And you can choose strength or dex.
Dex.
Great.
Of course.
Got to beat a 15.
Just straight dex, right?
Yeah.
Who wins in a tie?
Attacker wins in a tie. I believe. In
And
this
I'm
case,
attacking his off.
well, I think in this case he is the attacker because he's grappling you and you are trying to escape.
But I am the one providing the action.
Sure, whatever. I'll
That's
take
all right.
it.
No,
You know what?
okay.
Colonel Shift, re-roll it.
All right. There we go. My lowering still stayed. The reroll was not better. Or do I have to take the reroll? Is that how Colonel Shift works?
Yes.
Damn, Daniel.
So it succeeds.
It succeeds. Yeah, I don't escape.
Okay. That's fine then, and that brings us to Owlin's turn. Go ahead.
I can still cast something, right?
If it can be
As
done
long
as
as
a
it's-
bonus action.
Yes.
Yeah, you can do that.
I'm gonna cast Healing Word.
What's today's healing word
smart.
of the day?
Help!
He
I'm gonna
is-
cast it on Jeb.
Okay, Fox is far enough away that Owlin and Bruiser, you only barely faintly hear it from somewhere
Dang.
up and right of you. Owlin, it is
Okay.
your turn.
All right. Well, Alan's gonna
Alan,
5. Yes.
they went somewhere very far northeast-ish.
Okay. I will go very far northeast-ish.
Recover 9 hit points.
15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So that means Alan's going to dash if he can't see anything at 40 feet.
Can't see anything.
All right. 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. That's what he's going to
Okay,
do that. He thinks that's northeast-ish, and he's going to hope that that's correct.
sounds good. That brings us to Bruiser's turn.
Bruiser's gonna pop the charm,
Okay,
and then he is also going to presumably move and dash also.
okay.
So you said it was 15 feet back to the dock.
Yep.
So
And then that
that's,
gives him basically 45 feet of movement, right?
yeah. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45.
Great. And as the two of you are now running vertically, even though you have fresh air because of your charm, so it's not like it's impeding your ability to breathe, but you do start to catch the scent of death and decay. It's just getting stronger the further north you go.
Alan, did you go this way?
Yes,
That's
I
exactly-
think we're right next to each other.
Wash is holding exactly
Fox,
what this creature is, in case you're curious what it really looks like. That's what what one of these looks like. It is a lonely
Brody.
sorrow sworn is the name of the monster.
Ooh.
Okay, which brings us to
Fox
Bruiser's
and Jeb,
turn.
I need to hear your voice again to know where to go.
Fox and Jeb,
Over here, please come.
wisdom saves.
Wisdom saves.
Yep. I'm sorry, just Fox, not Jeb.
Nat 20, thank God.
Nat 20.
Dang.
Okay. You take.
I take 6 gold from its inventory.
Nice try.
You take its advice and promptly reject it because it's a dummy.
You take
Right.
12 hit points of psychic damage.
Oof.
And you are also. No, just kidding. It's going to not do that. So yeah, you take 12 psychic points of damage and you feel just like this wave of like anguish or sorrow kind of like vibrate through your consciousness or through your being. It feels hopeless. It feels like how the Harry Potter books describe the Dementors, where it's like everything is cold and clammy and nothing will be right in the world again. And then it kind of passes. It's just like a little wave that kind of ripples through you. The Sorrow Sworn, as I will now call the creature, is also.
I think it's
going
trying to make me cry in my head.
Oh, I'm actually wrong. I do need a wisdom save from Jeb as well. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's
It's
not
hard to
good.
keep all of a stat block in front of me at once.
9.
Jeb takes 10 points of psychic damage and
Okay.
feels the same.
Oh, I'm going to chronal shift that. I'm going to
Sure.
chronal shift that just to see
Yep.
if it's better. 16. Is that better?
Yes, you feel something kind of like radiate against your mind, but you are quite familiar with things you don't want being in your mind, and you kind of push back. You know, you've started to learn how to center in on yourself.
I'm also quite familiar with sadness and know how to process it.
That's true. With a 21 to hit, the Sorrow Sworn is going to attack Jeb with its other arm. 21 hit?
It has 3 arms?
No, you cut one of them. Oh, I guess Fox is holding it, so
And
it needs to escape his grapple. You're right. Fox...
Well, one of them is embedded in Fox.
Yeah.
Like the only one that has a spike on it.
Fox is holding the other one, right? You said Fox has
Yes.
grappled one arm.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's got to escape Fox's grapple. Good call. Fox, go ahead and roll a strength check to try and hold on to it.
It's not going to be good. 6.
It rolled... It did beat you, but only barely. You're like...
Fox, chronal shift.
okay. Fox rolls again.
That's a disadvantage. So do I roll disadvantage the whole thing again?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. 7.
Not that barely. It had a 9.
Oh, dang.
It still yanks its arm back from Fox. I just flung a d20 across my desk. Yanks its arm back out of Fox's grip, kind of recenters it, and it's going to lash out and attack Jeb now. Jeb, that is a 22 to hit this time.
That hits.
Okay. It attacks Jeb and boom, impales Jeb for 21 hit points of piercing damage. And Jeb, you are condition grappled.
Does it have a spike? Because I thought they cut it off at the edge
It
of
formed
that
into
one.
another spike.
Okay.
The end
Dang it.
kind of like forms back.
How much
into the
damage
spike.
was that again?
21 points of piercing damage.
Dang it.
And with you both grappled, it's going to begin moving and bringing you along with it. It's going to start walking.
What is that cackle?
I think Wash has figured out the bit. I mean, it's not a bit, but you know, has kind of figured out what's going on here. And it's going to go its full move distance, which is this way. The smell of death and decay is getting stronger as you move with the creature.
I don't like what's happening.
It is now Jeb's
It
turn.
thinks we're trapped with him, but he's trapped with me.
It's Jeb's turn.
Jeb, you did get the 9 hit points I healed you for, right?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. He tore the hole that you healed. And Jeb is going to holster Big Boy and holster the blunderbuss. Take the rod of luck in both hands and hold it like straight up over his head.
Yeah.
And he is going to shout, "Super Ultra Mega Transform!" And he's going to polymorph into a T-Rex.
Holy cow.
What?
I don't have a T-Rex icon, so we're just going to have to imagine. Is that size category large or gargantuan?
It is huge.
Okay. Here is T-Rex Jeb. Alan and Bruiser, you can't see them through the mist, but you just hear this sort of loud dinosaur roar off in the distance and the huge thud of 2 massive feet slamming into stone as its feet gain purchase on another of the sharp cliff faces. Yeah.
Alan, what's that? Is that a dragon?
I don't know.
The
In my
song-
mind's eye, I'm imagining his laugh turning into the roar. Like,
This is the
And I'm
best
just gonna
development.
bend straight over and just chomp him.
Sure. Roll to hit. You would have advantage and it would have advantage because of the grapple and the size, so just roll a normal attack.
All right. That's a 17 with a plus 10 to hit.
Holy
27 to hit.
That's gonna hit.
He's gonna take a 4d12 plus 7 piercing damage. So he takes 38 piercing damage. And if he is medium or smaller, he is grappled.
Nice. Everyone is grappling everyone in this fight right now. You are still grappled by its arm because you bit it in the head. Fox is grappled by its arm. As you lift it back up into the air, its arm stretches. So Fox is at the same spot he's been. Like he's, feet dragging on the ground. It's just getting longer as Jeb lifts it up. Fox, it vanishes into the mist. You're just standing next to T-Rex feet as it gets lifted up into the air by this roaring T-Rex. Jeb,
that is one attack of my multi-attack that he gets to use.
Sure. Its arm that is in you is shrinking as it, raises up back towards your shoulder because that's where it had grappled Jeb. Go ahead and roll your next attack.
I'm going to, you see the T-Rex, it's going to drop him. It's going to open its mouth and drop him and spin and just karate chop straight down with his tail.
Okay. It drops.
That's another 17.
Okay.
With a plus 10 to hit, so 27 to hit.
Great. 27 to hit. You're going to get the hit.
24 bludgeoning damage.
24 bludgeoning damage. Okay. You hit it for 24 bludgeoning damage, and it goes slack in. I guess you're not holding it in your teeth anymore, but its arm that is still kind of impaled into you goes slack. Fox, you fall to the ground. The 5th timer has expired. Fox, I need a dexterity save at disadvantage.
So that whole 19s are crits. Is that only for attacks?
I think it's just for rolls, but I'm going to let Fox check what it, or not Fox. I'm going to let Wash check what it says.
It doesn't say.
Sheet. Okay, so then it's for rolls.
It says you treat a 19 on the die as critical 20s.
Great. So.
All right. I've rolled a nat 20 and a 19.
Nice.
Okay. Well, very well done, Fox. Fox, as you fall and you hit the rock, it has been worn smooth by the years. It is damp from the mist, and so it would be very easy for a less skilled person to fall. But Fox, who hates heights to begin with, is not about it. And so
you could imagine my sword just immediately kicks out, digs into the secure it with my 1 foot.
Yep. And
grab everything with my dear life.
Yeah. And you're fast enough and strong enough and everything with that leg that you're able to impale it into the rock a little ways to where your arms are free. The blade is enough. And so you do that cool hero hanging from the side of a spaceship thing, but, with your leg. Fox lands just fine. The Sorrowsworn is very deceased. It had 4 hit points when you dealt 24 hit points of damage to it. So nice. It is very dead, and combat has ended. Owlin and Bruiser, you eventually catch up to the group where Jeb is a T-Rex.
Is he still a T-Rex?
Yeah, and actually, I suppose you have no way of knowing whether the T-Rex is the threat or whether the Sorrowsworn. Does it have your hat? Does it say in Polymorph whether the hat disappears? Wash is muted, I think.
Let me check.
Okay. I also like to picture its teeny little T-Rex arms as still holding the Rod of Luck. Just a little teeny rod held in its little T-Rex talons.
What happened?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know.
Fox, get back to the T-Rex.
No, that's Jeb.
Are you like a dragon that can't fly?
No,
he just shakes his head up and down.
You know what?
He
You're right,
like
Jeff.
a dog, but
enough.
Right on top of the Sorrowsworn, and he starts wagging his tail a little bit.
So what was that?
I don't know. Jeb just pulled out a rod.
Make a history check, a nature check, or an arcana check to understand what it was. The DCs for each are different. It would be easiest to use a history check to understand them, and it would be hardest to use an arcana.
I'll use a history.
Great.
That's a non-nat 20.
The Sorrowsworn are a creature of myth. It makes sense that you would have probably heard at least something about them in your hippie commune where Fox was raised. They are creatures that have been corrupted by the influence of the Shadowfell. They are typically solitary creatures, and each of the Sorrowsworn is usually corrupted by a specific negative emotion. So because this one is by itself, this one is likely corrupted by loneliness. Because the creatures are basically destined to force the condition upon themselves that they spend their lives trying to correct. There is no known way of repairing the damage of that corruption. So in essence, this creature was probably trying desperately to avoid its loneliness or to like get itself companionship. And in doing
By
so,
killing everyone around it.
well, it probably didn't even know it was killing the people around it. Like all of the wounds
just
that you
friend.
found from the puncturing were non-lethal. It was probably trying to bring creatures close to itself, and it doesn't even understand that being near it is what is killing them. That same like corrupting influence of the Shadowfell is what
Right.
the waves of energy coming off of it would have
Yo.
been. And as you continue, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is like a cursed creature thing. Like, we used to tell ghost stories about this around the campfire. I told you it was a ghost story.
But not a vampoon.
It
Yeah, but
might
you
as well
still
have
a
been.
T-Rex.
I am going to be a T-Rex for the next hour.
Great. 1 hour
I'm
of
just
T-Rex
saying.
Jeb. T-Rex Jeb cannot walk across those wooden bridges. T-Rex Jeb would fall right through. So you're
Oh,
also going to be on this rock, I guess, for a while.
He might just like jump to the other ships or something.
Bruiser's gonna recontact Clara. We took care of the immediate threat. Not sure if there are any more.
Okay,
but
hold on. Cool your horses. So Garlel thinks probably this sounds sort of like a swallow
Yeah.
mourn.
Sorrow
Sol-
sworn. Clara, it's a sorrow.
Sorrow sworn, and it's probably just the one. So like, we can come and help you, but you're probably gonna be just like okay, because there's probably only one of them.
Tell them about the
Yeah.
corruption. Did you tell them how, like, if they're close to it, it'll probably damage them?
Okay, beautiful. Hold on a moment.
Yeah.
So like it's corrupt, it's like
It's
a corruption
dead.
thing, and it's could like don't go near it kind of a thing. And what?
it's dead. Jeb turned into
Oh,
a.
then why are you calling me?
I'm updating you.
Hey, wait,
not
Bruiser. Tell him to send some scouts in here and help us, comb this area thoroughly now that it's somewhat safe.
Okay. One, Jeb is like some sort of dragon without wings. I don't know.
It's,
and
it's,
then
a, it's,
my,
a, it's a
that's an
Tyrannosaurus
upgrade.
Rex. It's more of an ancient creature that had a short lifespan. Like, I don't think they're really around anymore. Not quite as hardy as the dragons.
Alan says it's
What turns into a walking dragon?
I think he did it to himself. It's fine.
He did it himself. And it's what? I read Rex.
Getting a little T-Rex
yes,
arms waving.
Well, this
It's fine.
And then Fox wanted me to tell you to send some scouting.
Okay, Jeb. What are you trying to say, Jeb?
Help
Yeah.
Who filmed the well?
Oh, you want? Okay, who
The area.
should I send? There's a lot of options.
Fox, who do you want her to send?
I just send the scouting party.
Send the normal
For
scouts.
those
The
of you
one that
listening on
scouts
Spotify, the reason that Fox is distracted is that Jeb, as a Tyrannosaurus Rex, is attempting to pantomime like charades communicate with him, and so Jeb is holding up 3 little T-Rex talons, like 3 words, and trying to tell him something.
Okay.
Fox
Three
says
letters.
the normal scouting party.
We got
pull.
a normal scouting
Pull,
party.
pull, lift.
I guess so.
grab.
I've got like kitchen staff, and then there's like
Move.
the smart ones who are always doing.
Move.
I'll figure it
Okay.
out. I'll talk to the mushroom. Anything else?
Chip.
Anything else, guys?
Remove the chip from here.
It'll take us about an hour more.
The quick release
back
clamps.
because
Jeb will be an hour, so we'll
yeah,
be where
Jeb
we
will.
are for an hour until Jeb transforms back.
Why don't you just tell him to undo it? He's like
can't.
T-Rex
got
trying
his
to
own
do
magic.
it.
Can't undo
Fixing
it.
something. You want to remove something and fix it?
They're playing charades right now.
Fix
I gotta
what?
go.
You.
This is the strangest scouting party I've ever
We need to get
heard.
you.
get used to it. Well, actually, no,
No.
Alan can do that.
Fix you by
Blunderbuss?
removing. By carrying you? You want us to carry
If
you?
you just move the rod away
can't-
from him, won't the spell stop?
Oh, you want to blow you somewhere? We want to blow a ship somewhere. Fix a ship. We'll fix one of the ships, and we can use it. We have a lot of ships. We can fix all the ships. And we have a fleet. Well, so you can
fly.
use it. You want to use a ship. Each of us get a ship.
Listeners,
We
I would
want
describe the
ship.
charades, but it's funnier this way.
Dear listeners, they were bad at charades.
Josh isn't the only one who's not allowed to play charades anymore.
I got a very
tough
tiny
as a
screen I'm
T-Rex,
working with.
you
Okay,
know? It's
here.
tough
Let me
as a
blow up
T-Rex.
Wash. Okay.
It's tough out there for a T-Rex.
All right, go
The rest of your search.
fix the ships.
The rest of your search of this sort of abandoned boat
Okay.
city is uneventful from the danger side, but there's lots to discover. Fox, you discover a ship that has the sigil on it of a company you've never heard of, but when held under torchlight or any kind of heat, a reactive ink indicates that the ship is actually part of the notorious smuggling company, the Black Song. And on board that ship, you find a manifest that again reacts with secret ink to reveal what they were actually carrying. And you find out that it was trafficking, not trafficking is the wrong word. They were transporting a number of Sorrowsworn in hopes of finding the buyer was hoping to find a way to reverse the corruption. Only one of them had survived the trip, and so it seems likely, and you find a broken brig, so it seems likely this creature broke out of its confinement in its desperation to end its loneliness, and that is how people started dying. Previous to that, according to the ship's log, this whole area had become a sort of shipwreck city where airships that had been adrift were able to be lashed together. And in fact, the Sorrowsworn itself was used to help in that process in a controlled manner by attaching its arms to the other ships and helping pull them in, where they were then tied by more deft hands. As that's happening, Owlin, you discover a ship that clearly exhibits the capabilities necessary to travel between the Echo Planes, which is to say, like the Shadowfell, the Feywild, whatever. There's an arcane circle that's been worn away by the years, and a journal aboard this ship suggests that it is the buyer for that Sorrowsworn. They are the ones who are hoping to experiment on it. Bruiser, you discover in another shipwreck where all of the bodies are. All of these people who have been killed by the Sorrowsworn have been arranged in sort of a seated position, like circled around a central table or something like that. And there are even cold mugs of drinks around them, although the mugs are like very scratched up, and there's a lot of spilled drink and whatever that's stained into the table. But there are like mugs and stuff that have been arranged around them, and even some books, which is particularly interesting because Jeb, you discover that one of these ships was actually a floating library, an envoy of the Eos Lore Foundation. And when you enter it and your rod comes close enough to the weave begin activating things, you hear a golem that kind of activates, a librarian golem. And it, hello, welcome to the floating library. Would you help finding a book?
Yes.
What kind of book are you looking for?
Spells.
Spell? Did you say spell book?
Yes.
I don't think we have any spell books in our inventory, but we do have some individual spell scrolls. Would you like me to direct you to them?
Yes.
Did you say no?
No.
No. What are you looking for?
Spell scrolls.
You're looking for spell scrolls. Is that right?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't understand that. Can you say it again?
I'm gonna get a little closer to him so that the rod is like a little closer. I don't know if that'll work.
As you get closer with the rod, it like turns to look towards you. Hello, welcome to the floating library ship. We are an envoy from the Eos Lore Foundation. Can I help you find any? It's like less garbled.
I'm gonna get a little closer. Yes, I am looking for spell scrolls.
Ah, spell scrolls. It is possible that we still have some spell scrolls left, though as you'll note, there are some damages to the hull of our craft, and I do not know what might have gone overboard. I do not have any mobility. However, our books are organized according to the system instituted by Dr. Dewey of the town of Hembley Who, and so they are very easy to peruse. Let me direct you to the right section, and you are given very detailed instructions that lead you to a bookshelf where indeed the years have worn and pulled away many of the spell scrolls. There is one scroll there for control weather, a spell scroll of control weather. And there is a spell there for, where did it go? Sorry, I'm paging through tabs. I have a lot of tabs open now. There is I literally can't find it now. Pick a level 2 spell and you find a spell scroll that's on there. Pick one that you can learn.
I will do it. Yeah.
There's a level 2 spell there. You also, as you're looking over there, you hear the librarian shout back to you. You are a little bit further out of range now, but you hear it shouting back to you. In case you do not find what you're looking for, you might be more successful finding our artifacts chest.
Yes, please. Yes. And I'll walk up closer to it. I'm going to kind of like hold its hand almost like, yes. Where is your artifacts chest?
Ah, the chest of artifacts is located on the second deck, and it gives you more detailed instructions that send you up to a large ornate wooden chest. It's like a display chest, so there's kind of a glass top on it, and inside in like padded sections are some different artifacts. Next to it, there is a suit of armor, adamantine armor, full suit, so chainmail, chain shirt, scale mail, all made of adamantine. You also see each of the items on display, has kind of like a little plate that names it, but it doesn't necessarily describe what it does. So you see a thing called Kelnor's Marvelous Pigments. There's a pot of that material. There is
take it.
There is a potion of vitality. There is a beaker of universal solvent. This is attributed as a discovery of another A2 scientist, name that you've not heard. There is. Oh, I'm sorry. You have heard it. You've heard of Isaiah Barnaby, I think, in this adventure.
Yeah, that
Isaiah
sounds
Barnaby
familiar.
of IBM created the universal solvent.
Wait a
He's beaker
minute.
of that
What was the potion? It was a potion of
vitality.
vitality. Thank you.
There is also an upright display case that has some taller or longer things in it. There is a glaive of warning. There is a what is called saxophone of the bards that is mounted in a display case. There's also a medallion of thoughts hanging from a hook. You see some gauntlets of ogre power. And then lastly, resting on a small velvet pillow, there's just a pearl there that says Pearl of Power. And those are the items that you find in the library that are of significance.
What was the medallion again? The medallion of what?
Medallion of Thoughts.
Ooh.
And none of these are like Wingle Digit powered. These are all they're real arcane artifacts. Owlin, you also discover a cartographer's ship laden with maps, charts, books, things like that are used for navigating the world. You are able to glean from those charts that the airstreams that your sensors have been detecting, two of them are natural, the southern two. The northernmost one is unnatural. It was not there previously. Basically, it's not on any charts. The other two were. Which means that at the time of the darkening, you could rule that one out. Although it is suspicious, that one that's over the Cavorite Mountains could not have been there when Kay's ship went adrift. So you are at the center of one of them, and the other one circles the Pillars of Eternal Vigil.
All right.
The last thing of note, Fox and Bruiser, as you kind of reconnect and probably, are kind of having a little bit of a meeting with your other scouts who were sent by Clara to just kind of determine what else is out there. Just as that meeting ends and everyone is ready to head back towards the Cugboat, the two of you, both of you think you see it individually and then ask each other, and you're like, yeah, I think I saw something. A vague hint of a humanoid out in the mist, like not part of the boat city thing you're in, but literally suspended or levitating out in the mist. It is a medium-sized humanoid, you think, and the only reason you saw it was the tiny amber glow coming from the spyglass that it appeared to be using to look towards you. You saw it in the blink of an eye, mist rolled in front of it, and when the mist was gone, it was gone too.
Friend or foe?
You get no response. And on that
Amber
note,
means
tonight's Dungeons and Dragons session comes to a close.
Ooh.
Dun, 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 dun. Thanks for hanging out with us, chat. We appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out with us, players. I appreciate all of you. And if anyone wants to decode or hang out for a little bit, we are going to jump over to the Just Chillin' section of our Discord server, which you can join from the About section of our Twitch page. Otherwise, from all of us here at the Winged Badger Tavern, Jeb, as a Tyrannosaurus Rex, what do we tell the people? That's right. Bye, everybody.